Chapter 575. Lu Lai was covered in wounds and was being chased by 10% of the half-step heavenly venerables. Wu Yang and Qin Wu were blocked by the monsters of the third level and also fled in panic. Originally, the two of them were controlled by He Ling and planned to find Ling Xiao. However, after Ling Xiao left the third level, the terrifying dragon pressure suddenly disappeared, and the level 8 and level 9 vicious beasts, who originally did not dare to move, were now on the move. For a time, the third level really became a paradise for the monsters and a purgatory for the trial disciples. What was more terrifying was that as time passed, more half-step heavenly venerables with 20%, 30%, and even 40% of their strength appeared. Even Tantai Lingzi was in imminent danger. The entrance to the fourth level had been sealed, so these people basically had no chance to go to the fourth level. They could only run for their lives in the third level and finally be eliminated. However, if they could persist for a while, they would be rewarded. Even Lu Lai was trying to avoid the attacks. Fortunately, these monsters were set to be relatively stupid, otherwise they might have died long ago. Back to the fourth level. When Ling Xiao was being chased by the Heaven Realm gatekeeper of the third level, Dai Yuling, Leng Hao, and Shangguan Lei were also in trouble. However, at this time, Ling Xiao was too far away to help. Whether they could turn the misfortune into a blessing depended on their own ability. Ling Xiao was already too busy to take care of himself at this time. Looking at the gatekeeper who was constantly approaching behind him, his eyes flashed with a hint of ruthlessness. Instead of being chased by this guy all the way, it's better to find a way to kill him. Once this idea came to mind, it could not be stopped. While being chased by this guy, Ling Xiao could not check the situation of the fourth level with peace of mind. Running for his life like this was not his original idea. However, it was impossible to rely on his own strength, even with the help of the Book of Seals. Perhaps he could find an opportunity in the fourth level, an opportunity to completely kill the gatekeeper. If it were someone else, they would never have such an idea when being chased by a Heaven Realm Master, because no matter how strong a Transcendent was, they could only be killed in the face of a Heaven Realm Master. The five-faced monster could be regarded as the strongest Transcendent, but in the end, when facing this Crescent Moon Blade Gatekeeper, he was only able to last for 60 breaths of time before being cut into 8 pieces. As for the others, it was even more impossible. However, Ling Xiao's way of thinking was different from ordinary people. This was not an arena competition. They were in an unfamiliar environment. Using the environment to fight was also a choice. What's more, if Ling Xiao didn't eliminate this guardian, he would inevitably be badly battered. He might even be eliminated earlier than the others, and the gains wouldn't make up for the losses. After having the idea of killing the guardian, Ling Xiao no longer ran around randomly. Instead, he released the True Essence Sphere and sensed the surrounding environment. The sensing effect of the True Essence Ball could now reach a radius of about 100 meters, and it was not affected in the fourth stage. Combined with the Mountain and River Martial Spirit, he could expand the area from 10 meters to 100 meters. This way, he would be able to detect if there was anything he could use in the fourth stage. After a full 2 hours, his face lit up with joy. Good place. Ling Xiao sensed that there was a mountain 100 meters away. What was constantly pouring down from the mountain was not rain, but lightning. Thunder and lightning rained down, shattering anything that dared to barge into pieces. This is the extreme place of myriad thunder. The extreme place of myriad thunder was a naturally formed place that was similar to a formation. The lightning that constantly fell would not harm anything on the mountain, but would target anything that came from outside. Moreover, this kind of lightning was very powerful. It was definitely not something that Ling Xiao's 12 Golden Lotus arts could compare with. Not to mention the Guardian. Even if it killed a stronger Sky Realm expert, there would be no problem. Through the previous test, Ling Xiao was very clear that the Guardian's brain was not very bright. As long as he used the right method, he would definitely be able to lure this guy into the extreme place of myriad thunder. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao revealed a smile. Then he sped up and rushed toward the extreme place of myriad thunder. Behind him, the guardian was afraid that he would lose Ling Xiao, so he actually sped up at the same time. After a while, a small mountain surrounded by thunder and lightning appeared in front of him. The surroundings of the mountain were filled with lightning and thunder. It was an extremely strange scene. When Ling Xiao approached the extreme place of myriad thunder, he could clearly feel a terrifying aura, as if it was going to destroy him. He did not dare to take the risk to enter directly. While flying, he had already cleverly escaped. At this time, the one who rushed toward the extreme place of myriad thunder was not him, but his sword soul doppelganger. The distance was too close. With the guardian's speed, it was basically impossible for him to stop in front of the extreme place of myriad thunder. The biggest problem of the fourth level was that it was shrouded in fog. With the guardian's eyesight, he probably could not see anything more than 10 meters away. It was basically impossible to stop at a distance of 10 meters. Whoosh! The sword soul doppelganger instantly crashed into the extreme place of myriad thunder. Ling Xiao could feel that the sword soul doppelganger was instantly turned into ashes by the thunder and lightning, not even letting go of a trace of soul power. Whoosh! The guardian followed closely to the edge of the extreme place of myriad thunder. However, what made Ling Xiao dumbfounded was that at the crucial moment, this guy actually stabbed the crescent moon blade in his hand into the ground, and then slid for a distance before stopping. He just happened to stop at the edge of the extreme place of myriad thunder. Get in! Ling Xiao would not be dumbfounded for a long time. The moment he saw this scene, Ling Xiao immediately made his move. His body turned into a huge, immemorial golden dragon, and then he opened his huge mouth and spat out a ball of black energy, which crashed into the guardian's back. The guardian was already at the edge of the extreme place of myriad thunder, but after being hit, he plunged into the extreme place of myriad thunder. Boom! Terrifying thunder sounded, and thunder and lightning poured down like a downpour. The pitiful guardian was unable to attack Ling Xiao from beginning to end, and was shattered into pieces by the terrifying thunder and lightning. Not even a trace of soul was left. Ling Xiao tried to use a sealing card to seal it, but in the end it did not succeed. It seemed that the thunder and lightning had the ability to purify and directly erased everything. The seal card couldn't seal anything. Whoosh! Ling Xiao sat down on the ground. Although he was unable to seal the guardian into the card, he could use the extreme place of myriad thunder to destroy this guy, and the following things would be much easier. He could completely slowly search the fourth floor and find the secrets of the fourth floor. However, before that he had to rest for a while. This was quite tiring. What he did not know was that after he killed the guardian of the third floor, the monsters of the third floor had directly gone crazy. No matter what level the monsters were, it was as if they had been injected with chicken blood, and they did not even let Heiling's steel worship go, and they all surrounded it. Chapter 576. For me, this fourth level should not be too dangerous. As long as I walk around Myriad Thunder Extreme Land, even if it's a celestial realm evil beast, I can use Myriad Thunder Extreme Land to eliminate it. After resting for a moment, Ling Xiao stood up and smiled. This fourth level is the last level of the Tower Ascension ceremony. Although it's much more difficult than the third level, and it's filled with gray fog like the fog of war, it's not impossible to see through and figure it out. As long as I'm careful, it's not impossible to walk through all of this place. He found that the map of the mountain and river martial spirit would not disappear after it was activated. In other words, as long as he walked through the place, the map would be activated. Then, the possibility of getting lost would not exist. This was much easier than other disciples. For the first step, he would start from Myriad Thunder Extreme Land. Myriad Thunder Extreme Land was so terrifying that even a Celestial Realm expert could be directly blasted to pieces. However, Ling Xiao was not afraid, because as long as he found the pattern and law of Myriad Thunder Extreme Land, then it was not impossible to enter. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao sat down cross-legged. His two pupils instantly became as deep as the universe, with inscriptions and numbers constantly flashing inside. Myriad Thunder Extreme Land was a naturally formed formation. Although it was not man-made, it also had its own special pattern. Now he was going to use the analysis ability of the mountain and river martial spirit to find this pattern. Anyway, the pursuers had been killed by him. Next, he could be at ease to figure out the secret of Myriad Thunder Extreme Land. Among all the disciples who participated in the Tower Ascension ceremony, perhaps only he could enjoy this kind of peace. The others, including Dai Yuling and the others who entered the 4th level with him, also encountered trouble. However, they had just entered, so the trouble was not as big as the ones in the 3rd level. At this time, in the 3rd level, there were already people who were about to die. Among them, the most depressed was probably Lu Lai. His cultivation was the lowest among the remaining people. Without Tantai Lingzi's help, his situation was worrying. In the 4th level, Shangguan Lei also encountered a serious crisis and was on the verge of elimination. Almost one after the other, Lu Lai and Shangguan Lei were eliminated respectively. However, the circumstances of the two were vastly different. Lu Lai was chased to death by a half-step Empyrean vicious beast that only had 10% of its strength left. In the end, he didn't even have the strength to escape. His cultivation had improved a lot, but the things he had obtained were not as good as by Feifei's. On the other hand, the reason why Shangguan Lei was eliminated was purely a choice made after careful consideration. He encountered a great opportunity in the 4th stage, obtaining an immortal grade artifact, a top gold grade martial art, and a spirit fruit that could raise his cultivation to the invincible 7th layer of the transcendent realm. The reason he was eliminated was to obtain these 3 items. Therefore, it could be said that he died a worthy death. This person was more realistic. He felt that he might encounter more trouble in the future, but he might not have such a good opportunity as now. After careful consideration, he made his decision. Lu Lai died helplessly. On the other hand, Shangguan Lei was eliminated with satisfaction. Being able to reach the 4th stage is already a miracle for me. There's no need to be too greedy. At the moment of death, Shangguan Lei thought of Ling Xiao. The reason why he was able to achieve such an excellent result in the Moonlight Pagoda Ascension ceremony this time was all thanks to Ling Xiao's help. With his own strength, he probably wouldn't even be able to pass the 2nd stage. His current result was even better than the head teacher Chang Yueying and the flame deity. Even in the last 100,000 years, he would be considered one of the top. All of this couldn't be done without the help of one person. I wonder how Brother Ling is doing. I, Shangguan Lei, can be where I am today because of his help. I will never forget this kindness. Whoosh! He felt his body being enveloped by a white light. Then he flew out of the Moonlight Pagoda along with the white light. There was a corpse on the ground that looked exactly like him. You must get 1st place, Brother Ling, outside the Moonlight Pagoda on the inner square. The higher-ups of the Yuehua school had been here for several days. 2 rays of light flashed from the pagoda, and Lu Lai and Shangguan Lei were sent out one after another. Good disciple! Lu Lai was one of the best in the inner sect. Naturally, he had his own master, and his master was Elder Mu of the Law Enforcement Hall. Shangguan Lei also had a master, but his master was only a half-step heavenly venerable. He couldn't even be considered a higher-up in the Yuehua school. This was also the reason why he and the other 2 wanted to seek refuge with the flame deity. Master, I'm back. Shangguan Lei used to look down on his master. However, after interacting with Ling Xiao for a long time, this kid's temperament had slowly changed. Perhaps this was the so-called one is marked by the company one keeps. Good job. Shangguan Lei's master was so excited that tears flowed down his face. Ever since he took Shangguan Lei in as his disciple, this was the first time he heard Shangguan Lei call him master. Lu Lai and Shangguan Lei both stayed in the Moonlight Pagoda for 7 days. There wasn't much of a difference in terms of time, but there was a world of difference in the number of moonlight points they obtained. Lu Lai came out first, so he was the first to be counted. He obtained 220 moonlight points, slightly less than Bai Feifei. Ha ha ha, good disciple. You did well. Although you're not as good as your senior sister Bai, this result is a miracle for you. Elder Mu originally thought that his disciple wouldn't even be able to pass the second round. He didn't expect that he would obtain about the same number of moonlight points as Bai Feifei. This made him very happy. Master, disciple's cultivation has also broken through to the 5th level of the transcendent realm. Lu Lai was also very happy. Although it was very frustrating to be killed by the monster in the end, this result was still something to be proud of. Good, good, good. Well done, well done. But Master, disciple didn't get any treasures because he focused on cultivation. I only obtained a high-grade, gold, grade martial art. Is it okay? Lu Lai said modestly, but he was feeling a little proud in his heart. Not bad, not bad. I didn't expect your cultivation to break through so much, and you even obtained such a rare martial art. In a sense, you're not worse than your senior sister Bai. Elder Mu's words were not wrong. After all, Bai Feifei's cultivation not only did not break through, it even regressed. No one cared about Shangguan Lei. Even when Shangguan Lei joined Empyrean Devil Flame back then, Empyrean Devil Flame only treated him as a dog. In the end, it was Elder Jin's words that successfully attracted everyone's attention. Elder Jin asked, "Have you two seen Ling Xiao? Where is he now? What has he done?" Reporting to Elder Jin, that Ling Xiao is simply a scum. He has repeatedly threatened us. Otherwise, this disciple would have been able to obtain some good stuff. Lu Lai rushed to say. Chapter 578. Sect Master, that Ling Xiao colluded with Dai Yuling, Leng Hao, and Shang Guanlei. If Shang Guanlei can get such good things, then Dai Yuling and Leng Hao will not be an exception. If those two are eliminated, then the things will belong to Bai Feifei. What do you think? The pagoda ascension ceremony hasn't ended yet, but Elder Jin has already begun to discuss with the sect master about dividing the gains of Ling Xiao and others. I want to see who dares to snatch my disciples' things. Golden Light, Sky Lord, coldly snorted. Although his strength is not as good as Elder Jin and the Flame Deity, if they really fight, Yuehua School will definitely not be able to withstand it. Dai Yuling has nothing to do with you, right? Elder Jin frowned. Nothing to do with her. Then that's enough. After Leng Hao comes out, you can discipline him well. As for Dai Yuling's gains, they will all belong to Bai Feifei. Elder Jin said. Sect Master Chang, Yueli nodded, agreeing. At this time, she doesn't need to have a conflict with the law enforcement hall. Master, Yuling is my disciple. How can you do this? Lan Yu was unhappy. What? Do you want to disobey your master? Sect Master Chang, Yueli coldly looked at Lan Yu and asked. Disciple doesn't dare. Lan Yu frowned and retreated to the side. She is a girl who respects her master. She really can't fall out with her master. Since that's the case, it's settled. Sect Master Chang Yueying doesn't seem to feel that there is anything wrong with this. Dai Yuling and Shang Guanlei are not geniuses. There's no need to cultivate them. It's better to give the good things to geniuses, like Bai Feifei. Inside the Moonlight Pagoda, the Pagoda Ascension ceremony is still ongoing. As time passed, a 30% strength half-step Empyrean appeared in the 3rd round. Their strength is too strong. Even Wu Yang and Qin Wu, who are possessed by Black Spirit, are riddled with scars. They are about to die. These two people were possessed by Black Spirit and basically didn't get anything. If they are eliminated, at most they will be rewarded with moonlight points and nothing else. One has to say they are really unlucky. But on the other hand, being able to enter the 3rd stage was already considered lucky. It didn't seem like he was at a disadvantage. However, compared to Ling Xiao and the others, there was a huge gap. Finally, Wu Yang and Qin Wu were each killed by a 30% strength half-step Empyrean. Their bodies were wrapped in white light as they were thrown out of the moonlight pagoda. Wu Yang, Qin Wu. The two of them were now the flame deities, in-name disciples. Therefore, the flame deity was quite concerned about them. The two of you have also entered the 4th stage, right? How's your harvest? The flame deity was very much looking forward to these two people's results surpassing Shangguan Lei's. In that case, he would also feel proud. After all, Ming Tian had already been eliminated. The only dignity he had left was these two people. Unfortunately, both of them shook their heads at the same time. Reporting to Master, we didn't enter the 4th stage. We were eliminated by the monsters in the 3rd stage. Because we were constantly running for our lives, we didn't get anything good, and our cultivation base didn't improve at all. Both of them were a little uneasy. Their moonlight points were exactly the same. They were both 255 points, 5 points more than Bai Feifei. However, Bai Feifei still obtained some martial arts, secret manuals, and some other good things. However, these two people didn't get anything. Trash! Empyrean Demon Flame was fuming with rage. All right, Mo Yan. It's already very good that these two can get so many moonlight points. There's no need to force them. What do you think of that, Ling Xiao? The Grand Sect leader asked with a smile. Ling Xiao. If it weren't for Ling Xiao, we wouldn't be so miserable. At least we could get something. Moreover, when Ling Xiao went to the 4th stage, the number of monsters on the 3rd floor suddenly increased by a lot. We suspect that it was his doing. Wu Yang and Qin Wu looked at each other and hurriedly said, these two people had a death feud with Ling Xiao, so it was normal for them to say that. The Grand Sect leader raised her head and looked in the direction of the moonlight pagoda. She couldn't see the Moon Lady, but she knew that the Moon Lady must be there. She thought to herself, Moon Lady, oh Moon Lady, let's see how you're going to protect that Ling Xiao. There are still 4 people left in the pagoda ascension ceremony. Ling Xiao, Tantai Lingzi Daiyuling and Lung Hao. Chen Jiwang frowned. If Ling Xiao has colluded with the other two, then the next person to be eliminated will probably be Tantai Lingzi. Sai, how could this be? Most of the sect's upper echelons didn't have a good impression of Ling Xiao. After all, in their opinion, Ling Xiao was just an outer disciple with mediocre talent. How could he stay until the end? He must have used some underhanded means. There was no other possibility. The pagoda ascension ceremony wouldn't change because of these people's opinions. The ceremony was still proceeding in an orderly manner. There was only one person left in the 3rd stage, and that was Tantai Lingzi. However, this woman was a little strange. No one saw that she had been killed by a ferocious beast. However, after the ferocious beast left, she came back to life. Damn it, 2 of the lives that I absorb have been used so quickly. There's still 7 lives left. I have to be more careful. No one knew that Tantai Lingzi had a secret. The reason why her masters had suddenly died was not because she had cursed them to death, but because she had killed them and absorbed them into her own life force. Tantai Lingzi wasn't human. She was a descendant of a primitive spider. Originally, her bloodline hadn't awakened. However, after entering the inner sect and becoming a disciple, she encountered a lecherous master. This master wanted to forcefully possess her. At that critical moment, the primitive spider bloodline in her body awakened. That master couldn't resist at all and was sucked dry of his blood essence. Within Tantai Lingzi's martial vein, a very small infant-shaped energy body appeared. That was the life absorption that the primitive spider was good at. It could absorb the lives of others for its own use. Of course, like many other abilities, this ability had some limitations. It could only absorb the lives of men, and the target had to be indecent to her. The stronger the target, the greater the help it would provide to the main body. Tantai Lingzi approached Ling Xiao for no other reason than to absorb Ling Xiao's life. She didn't know what others thought of Ling Xiao, but she felt that Ling Xiao's life form was very powerful, After absorbing his life, she believed that she would become even more powerful. Of course, this was also the reason why her cultivation had improved so quickly. This woman had always been watertight. Until now, no one had thought that she was the one who killed her master. After all, the difference in strength was too great. However, no one had thought that strength wasn't the key factor in certain situations. Tantai Lingzi paused for a moment and then disappeared into the darkness again. 9 lives seemed a lot, but she had already lost 2. If she wasn't careful, she might really be eliminated. Chapter 579. While Tantai Lingzi was in trouble, Lung Hao was also being hunted in the 4th stage. Lung Hao's luck was even better than Shangguan Lei's. He had obtained 2 immortal-grade artifacts. One was a weapon, while the other was a set of armor. He had also obtained a set of gold-grade martial arts and a gourd of quintessential essence recovery pills. This pill was too important to him right now. He had been exhausted, and his quintessential essence recovery pills had been nearly depleted in order to obtain these items. By relying on the immortal grade armor, he had been able to withstand the attack of a half-step heavenly venerate at 50% power. Although he had vomited blood, he hadn't been eliminated. Now he was dragging his feet and fleeing in all directions. He didn't want to give up. After all, the longer he persisted, the more moonlight points he would receive. Lung Hao lived up to his reputation as a genius. Compared to Shangguan Lei, his performance this time could be considered a classic. He had actually used the same method as Ling Xiao and relied on a danger zone to kill the half-step heavenly venerate chasing him. Of course, compared to Ling Xiao, he was still a little lacking. After all, Ling Xiao had killed a true sky venerate guardian. But no matter what, the performance of a genius was still reflected. He could only blame Ling Xiao for being too monstrous. All right, I can finally take a breather after getting rid of my pursuer. Let's see what other good stuff I can obtain. Lung Hao wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and hurriedly found a safe place to start healing. As long as his injuries were healed, he would be able to continue his trial and obtain even better things. After recovering from his injuries, Lung Hao continued moving forward. However, he had never imagined that he would encounter an even more terrifying pursuit after obtaining an extraordinary pill. Extraordinary pills were better than top-grade quintessential essence pills for replenishing and enhancing quintessential essence pills. Most of them were mid-grade or high-grade yellow-grade pills. No one in the entire Yuehua school could refine such pills. Although a Yuan venerate could refine them, he wasn't considered a member of the Yuehua school. It had to be said that Lung Hao was extremely lucky to have obtained this item. Although there were still many treasures, he wasn't greedy. Instead, he turned around and fled. The monster this time was a half-step Empyrean with 60% of its strength. It was much stronger than the previous ones. If he didn't run, then he would die. At the same time, Dai Yuling had the greatest fortuitous encounter of her life. This fortuitous encounter might allow her to transform from an ordinary disciple into a truly stunning genius. Of course, it was only a possibility. Right now, whether or not she could obtain this opportunity was still unknown. On the other side, Ling Xiao was still analyzing the situation in the myriad, lightning, extreme ground. After nearly a day of analysis, he finally made some progress. Now that I've found the flaw, the next step is to crack it. The flaws of the extreme thunderbolt's place were different from man-made formations. If one wanted to enter through the flaws, they had to control the flaws. Otherwise, under the laws of nature, once the flaws were discovered, they would be fixed in time. If Ling Xiao could go in, he might not be able to come out. Therefore, Ling Xiao decided to take control of this flaw first. He didn't have the qualifications to control the entire 10,000 lightning extreme site, but if it was just a single flaw, it wouldn't be too big of a problem. Ling Xiao, who was just about to control the flaws, suddenly frowned and stood up. Trouble had come again. He had stayed outside the extreme thunderbolt's place for a long time. so it was impossible for him not to attract the attention of the monsters in the fourth stage. The monsters in the fourth stage were all very strange. They weren't giant beasts or fierce beasts, but rather humanoid monsters. However, even the weakest of these monsters were half-step heavenly venerables with 10% of their strength. This time, the one targeting Ling Xiao was a half-step heavenly venerables with 50% of their strength. It was obvious that this guy didn't want him to focus on analyzing and controlling the flaws of the extreme Thunderbolt's place. I don't have time to play with you. Ling Xiao thought for a moment before summoning the Book of Seals and releasing the Black Dragon King and Dream Realm. The Dream Realm could only be used once and was a 9th layer Transcendent Realm Master. But she had a special ability, which was to create illusions to affect enemies. The Black Dragon King was a half-step Heavenly Venerables with 10% of his strength. If he entered his Black Dragon form, he could reach the level of a half-step Heavenly Venerables with 10% of his strength. The two of them definitely wouldn't be a match for a half-step Heavenly Venerables with 50% of their strength alone, but if they work together, that might not necessarily be the case. Release Dream Realm. Release Black Dragon King. Stop that guy. Kill him if you can. After giving the order, Ling Xiao sat down cross-legged again and continued with his business. He had a feeling that there was a great opportunity in the extreme Thunderbolt's place, one that would be very useful to him and absolutely couldn't be missed. But what this opportunity was, he didn't know. He didn't have the ability to see it so quickly. Control. After another 2 hours, Ling Xiao's eyes suddenly opened wide. His powerful soul force, in the form of the mountain river will, poured into the flaw. Success! Under his control, this flaw could be closed or opened at any time. This way, he could enter and exit the extreme Thunderbolt's place at will. Glancing at the Dream Realm and Black Dragon King, Yang Kai saw that they had both died in battle. However, the half-step Heavenly Venerables with 50% of their strength had also died. Both of them had perished together. He tried to store the half-step Heavenly Venerables with 50% of their strength into the Book of Seals and actually succeeded. From this, he came to a conclusion. The Book of Seals now belonged to him. The enemies killed by the monsters in the Book of Seals were also killed by him, so he could seal them. Extraordinary swordsmen, half-step Heavenly Venerables with 50% of their strength, can use it 3 times. This was the new information that appeared on the card. He didn't know if the Celestial Realm Gatekeeper could seal it. If he could, then it would be very powerful. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao directly entered the extreme Thunderbolt's place through the flaw. The situation inside was completely different from the outside. There are almost no lightning storms here, only at the top of the mountain. For some reason, the lightning storms were more ferocious than the outside. He glanced at it and then went to look for the corpse fragments of the Celestial Realm Gatekeeper. Although the Gatekeeper had been blasted into pieces, the crescent blade was still intact. He didn't pay attention to it before, but this thing was actually a high-grade celestial treasure. There were still remnants of the Gatekeeper's soul on the crescent blade, as well as some fragments of the corpse. He tried to seal it, but the result made him feel a little helpless. Cultivators of the same super realm can only seal monsters of the same super realm, and they must kill them with their own hands. Those killed by the environment don't count. In other words, Ling Xiao was now a Transcendent Realm cultivator, so he could only seal monsters of the Transcendent Realm. A half-step Heavenly Venerables was actually a Transcendent Realm cultivator, but they were called that because they were closer to the Celestial Realm. Moreover, Ling Xiao had used the extreme Thunderbolt's place to kill this guy, so it couldn't be counted as him killing it. He didn't meet either of the 2 conditions, so it was impossible to seal it. Tisk! Ling Xiao shook his head in disappointment, then looked at the top of the mountain. Chapter 580. Ling Xiao looked at the top of the mountain. The extreme land of 10,000 thunderbolts was surrounded by terrifying lightning, but most of the mountain was not. However, There was a single lightning storm at the top of the mountain, and its power was even more terrifying than the lightning storm outside. There must be something strange. He sped up and rushed to the top of the mountain, but he was surprised to see a shocking scene. There was actually a furnace in the lightning storm. Purple flames burned in the furnace. What surprised him the most was that he actually felt the aura of life in the furnace. Could it be that someone was trapped in the furnace and used as a medicine to be refined? Could it be that the moonlight goddess did this? For a moment, many question marks appeared in his mind. After all, the scene in front of him was too strange. In the furnace that was as tall as a person, the flames burned continuously, and it actually emitted an aura that came from the root bone. Ling Xiao even suspected that this furnace had been here for 100,000 years, and a living creature that was thrown into the furnace could not be refined for 100,000 years. This was definitely a very shocking thing. Should I open the furnace? Ling Xiao was a little confused. The thing that the moonlight goddess threw into the furnace was most likely not something good. Once it was released, it might cause a lot of trouble. However, curiosity made Ling Xiao unable to suppress the idea of opening the furnace. The troublesome thing was that the mountain and river martial spirit could not see what was in the furnace. To open or not to open, that was the question. Wealth comes from danger. Open it. After thinking for a while, Ling Xiao finally made a decision. He was not a timid person. With such a great opportunity waiting for him to obtain, if he gave up because of cowardice, it would be a real waste. The extreme land of 10,000 thunderbolts was such a terrifying place that even a Heaven Realm expert would be blasted into pieces. How could there not be such a thing? Moreover, one could tell that the furnace was not an ordinary item at a glance. It seemed to be some kind of powerful martial spirit inheritance. Even if it was not the moonlight goddess martial spirit, it was definitely the martial spirit of a super expert from the ancient times. Not to mention other things, it was already very good to be able to obtain this furnace. After making up his mind, Ling Xiao once again activated his mountain and river martial spirit and began to analyze the lightning storm around the furnace, trying to find an opportunity to break it open. This was the forbidden land of 10,000 thunders. It was impossible for monsters to harass him from the outside. Hence, at this moment, he was probably the safest person in the entire Moonlight Treasure Tower. In order to obtain a fortuitous encounter, Dai Yuling struggled between life and death. Everything depended on her luck. Lung Hao was once again chased by the monster and had no choice but to flee in panic. The most miserable one was probably Tantai Lingzi. In this short period of time, she had been killed 3 more times. Now she had lost 5 lives. However, in the process of escaping, her potential was completely unleashed, and her cultivation achieved another breakthrough. Now that he had reached the mid-stage transcendent realm, this could be considered a kind of harvest. It was a pity that she was completely exhausted from running for her life. She didn't have the time to look for any treasures, not to mention that the best treasures in the 3rd stage were precious treasures and high-grade, gold-grade martial arts. Originally, there were a lot of good things in Black Spirit City, but unfortunately they were all destroyed by Ling Xiao. Therefore, even if Tantai Lingzi really found the time to obtain some treasures, the quality was incomparable to the 3 people in the 4th stage. She had relied on her 9 lives to survive until now. If it were any other disciple, they would have died long ago. Unlike her, although Lung Hao was also being chased and looked miserable, the treasures he obtained were much better than Tantai Lingzi's. Tisk, looks like there's really no other way. I've eaten all the true chi recovery pills. This guy is really hot on my tail. Lung Hao's face showed a smile. Suddenly he shouted to the sky, "Senior Brotherling, I'll be leaving first. Good luck." Number of people remaining: 3. The cold voice of the Moonlight Treasure Tower was still there, but because everyone was being chased or busy with their own matters, they didn't pay attention to it. Outside the Moonlight Treasure Tower, on the 9th day of the Tower Ascension ceremony, So, another figure was thrown out. Sigh, I'm only fourth. I thought I could get second place. After being thrown out of the Moonlight Treasure Tower, Lung Hao muttered to himself. Little brat, you're not bad. Ha! Heavenly Master Golden Light turned into an afterimage and quickly rushed to Lung Hao's side. This was naturally to protect Lung Hao. Now, many people thought that Lung Hao was colluding with Ling Xiao and others to harm other disciples. If he wasn't careful, Lung Hao might really be plotted against. Master, this is all thanks to Senior Brother Ling. If Master didn't let Senior Brother Ling teach me a lesson and wake me up, I wouldn't have been able to achieve such good results. Lung Hao was very excited when he saw Heavenly Master Golden Light. Although he was seriously injured in the Moonlight Treasure Tower, as long as he wasn't injured by abnormal forces like the Flame Deity's clone, he would be fully recovered after coming out. Therefore, there was no abnormality at the moment. Oh, Heavenly Master Golden Light revealed a smile, but there was also a trace of worry. Tell me about the situation, he asked. Lung Hao roughly explained the process. The first, second, and third stages were exactly the same as what Shangguanlei had said, but some things were added. For example, someone tried to rob Ling Xiao when he took the treasure, but was killed by Ling Xiao and eliminated. Another example was Bai Feifei and others tried to lure the five-faced monster to kill Ling Xiao. He said all the details that Shangguanlei had left out. Lung Hao, you colluded with Ling Xiao. Naturally, you'll speak for him. Bai Feifei reprimanded loudly. F***CK. I've never seen such a shameless woman like you. Senior sister? I think you're worse than a chicken. Even chickens in the secular world have professional ethics. Lung Hao couldn't help but curse. All right, let's not talk about this. Justice is in everyone's heart. Tell me about your results. Heavenly Master Golden Light was very clear that it was useless for Lung Hao to say anything now. Some people would definitely not believe him. Rather than wasting his breath, it was better to wait for Ling Xiao to come out before confronting him. Master, don't be surprised. I've obtained 1,500 moonlight points this time. 1,500 points. It was indeed better than Shangguanlei. A full 300 points more. Everyone was surprised and envious. Anything else? Heavenly Master Golden Light asked. Lung Hao was about to speak when Chang Yueying's voice suddenly sounded. She was holding a golden leaf that was shining with golden light. That was the result from the Moonlight Pagoda. The final result is that you've entered the fourth stage and obtained 1,800 moonlight points. It seems to be 300 points, more than what Lung Hao said. In addition, you've obtained 2 immortal grade artifacts, a set of gold grade martial arts, and an extraordinary pill. Heavens, this result is too heaven-defying. Hearing Chang Yueying's words, everyone was shocked. Chapter 581. Everyone thought that Shangguanlei's result was already heaven-defying enough, but they didn't expect Lung Hao's result to be even more exaggerated. La ha ha ha! You've set a new record again. An immortal grade artifact. Back then, this sect master and the flame deity only obtained an immortal grade artifact and a set of gold grade martial arts. Chang Yueying was very satisfied with this result. As one of the 2 geniuses of the inner sect, Lung Hao could be considered to be a true genius. He was much better than Ming Tian. Little brat, you've given your master face this time. How are you going to use the things you took out? Golden Light Heavenly Master asked. There's no hurry. Let's wait for Senior Brother Ling to come out and ask him for his opinion. Lung Hao now had a lot of trust in Ling Xiao. By the way, Master, I almost forgot to tell you. Disciples' cultivation has broken through to the peak Transcendent Realm 7th level. Infinitely close to the invincible 7th level. Lung Hao changed the topic and said excitedly, Ha ha ha, that's great. You really didn't disappoint Master. Well done. Master, you praise me so much that I feel embarrassed. Leng Hao said with a smile. By the way, you said that you were separated from Ling Xiao in the 4th stage. Do you know his current situation? Golden Light, Heavenly Master, was still very concerned about Ling Xiao's situation. Master, it's like this. I'm a little worried about Senior Brother Ling. When we separated, the guardian of the 3rd stage chased after us. At that time, I vaguely saw Senior Brother Ling lure the guardian away. Speaking of this, Leng Hao was really worried. How strong was the guardian of the 3rd stage? Golden Light, Heavenly Master asked. A heaven realm powerhouse. Leng Hao replied, Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. However, Elder Jean, Supreme Headmaster, Heavenly Exalt Demon Flame, and the others all smiled. Generally speaking, if one was eliminated, they would be teleported out. If they weren't teleported out, then it was very likely that they were killed. Although the probability of death in the Tower Ascension ceremony was very low, it was not unheard of. In the past 100,000 years, several disciples had died an unnatural death and never came out again. That brat died inside. It's too easy for him. Elder Jean snorted coldly. Old thing, watch your mouth. Although I'm worried about Senior Brother Ling, he can do things that ordinary people can't. He definitely won't die. Leng Hao was very respectful towards Ling Xiao. Hearing Elder Jin's words, he was immediately unable to restrain his anger, and also somewhat spoke without thinking. That's right, Elder Jin. You are also the head of the law enforcement hall. How can you curse a disciple like this? Chang Yuing glanced at Elder Jin and said coldly. When Elder Jin saw that Chang Yuing had spoken, he coldly snorted and no longer said anything. However, in his heart he thought, even if that brat doesn't die, once he comes out he will definitely die. Within the Moonlight Pagoda, on the night of the 9th day of the Tower Ascension ceremony, at the peak of the Myriad Lightning Extreme Place, Kacha! The moment Ling Xiao opened his eyes, the lightning storm actually shattered like glass, and strange cracks appeared. After a long period of analysis, Ling Xiao finally saw through the pattern of this lightning storm and broke its weakness in one fell swoop. The range of this lightning storm is relatively small, different from the surrounding large-scale lightning storm. Although it is strong, it does not form a system and is an independent existence. Dealing with this kind of power is much easier than dealing with those that form a system. Break! Ling Xiao suddenly stabbed out with his sword. The lightning constellation integrated into the purple lightning sword. Whoosh! Boom! The thunderstorm was completely shattered, and then it vanished into thin air. Ling Xiao nervously swallowed a mouthful of saliva and then carefully walked in front of the furnace. Then he slowly opened the furnace. Whoosh! In that instant, a curved golden light shot out from the furnace. The golden light broke through the sky and completely destroyed the dark clouds in the sky. Even the lightning storm stopped for a moment. Ling Xiao saw a glaring light in front of his eyes, and then he couldn't see anything. A moment later, the golden light disappeared. Ling Xiao looked into the furnace and realized that there was a huge pill inside. Although it was huge, it was actually only the size of a grapefruit, but it was round. But generally speaking, it was a miracle that a pill could be refined to such a big size. The life aura was emitted from this pill. Ling Xiao was sure. The surface of the pill was woven with complicated inscriptions, one formation after another. All of them were naturally formed, and there were no traces of human intervention. It seemed that someone had indeed thrown something into the furnace, but after a long period of refinement, this thing had actually fused with the pill. Ling Xiao took the pill out of the furnace and observed it for a long time, but he still couldn't figure out how to use it. The energy contained in it was too terrifying, and it was definitely not possible to eat it directly. If he really ate it directly, his body would directly collapse. Forget about the pill for now. Let's see what's going on with the furnace. Ling Xiao placed the pill into the mountain river world, and then wholeheartedly studied the furnace. However, he didn't notice that the moment the pill entered the mountain river world, it actually moved. After that, a large amount of soul force poured into the pill, and the pill's movements became even more intense. Ling Xiao was focused on studying the furnace, so he didn't pay attention to it. As expected, it's an ancient martial spirit inheritance. The original owner of this martial spirit shouldn't be as strong as the Moonlight Heavenly Maiden, but he should be second only to the Moonlight Heavenly Maiden. Ling Xiao muttered to himself, "The most important thing is that this martial spirit is a little too domineering. It's actually said to be able to smelt everything." The furnace martial spirit was a little interesting. He could use it first. If it was compatible with the development of the mountain river martial spirit, then there was no harm in continuing to use it. The most important thing was that Ling Xiao's curiosity was too strong. It was the first time he had encountered such a strange martial spirit, so he wanted to play with it for a few days. Furthermore, this martial spirit was already an out-of-body martial spirit. Furthermore, it could leave the body for a moment, which was stronger than the martial spirit he currently possessed. If he used it to fight, it should be stronger. Keep thinking of this. Ling Xiao activated the mountain river martial spirit and forcefully moved the ownerless furnace martial spirit inside. The moment the furnace martial spirit entered the mountain river world, a huge furnace floating in the sky appeared in the mountain river world. It emitted a boiling hot aura and looked very cool. He wasn't in a hurry to study the use of the furnace martial spirit because he had already discovered that the pill that he threw into the mountain river world had undergone a strange change. This guy actually grew eyes and nose and hands and feet. Hands, feet, and a face appeared on its round body. This situation was extremely strange. However, he didn't stop the pill from changing. In any case, this thing was in his mountain river world. Even if it wanted to act recklessly, he could suppress it immediately. On the contrary, releasing it would cause all sorts of problems. Damn! Just as Ling Xiao was about to watch the show, he suddenly felt his soul force frantically fusing into the little thing's body. Chapter 582. Suddenly, Ling Xiao felt his soul force crazily pouring into the round little thing's body. Then, the little thing's body began to change. Damn it! Ling Xiao wanted to curse out loud. It was fortunate that his soul force was strong enough. Otherwise, he would really be dead if his soul force was sucked in by this little thing. He steadied his mind and sat cross-legged, wholeheartedly controlling the input of his soul force. If his life was in danger, he would naturally stop the output of his soul force. But there was no need for that now. Anyway, his soul force was strong enough, so it didn't matter if he held on a little longer. He wanted to see what the pill would become in the end. Such a strange and mysterious thing that took 100,000 years to refine, and it actually dared to absorb the mountain river martial spirit's energy. This was definitely not something an ordinary little thing could do. Who knows, he might have gotten his hands on an incredible item this time. After a full 2 hours, when Ling Xiao felt that his soul force was extremely weak, the little thing's body emitted a strange light. This light was very dazzling, and Ling Xiao couldn't see what was inside. But fortunately, the little thing seemed to have absorbed enough soul force and the mountain river martial spirit's energy at this time, and began the most crucial transformation. Ling Xiao breathed a sigh of relief, and hurriedly ate a pill to replenish his soul force and physical strength. Although the myriad lightning extreme place might not be too dangerous, he still had to be careful. He had to ensure that he had enough fighting strength at all times. This way, if he encountered danger, he could escape in time. A day quickly passed, and Ling Xiao felt that he had recovered to his peak state. Then he looked into the mountain river world. The pill was now more like a small sun, very dazzling, but other than that, there were no other changes. He couldn't keep waiting for the little thing to change. Since he had finished investigating the myriad lightning extreme place, it was time to go to other places to investigate. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao lifted his feet and left the myriad lightning extreme place. He felt that the monsters in the fourth stage seemed to be passive and wouldn't take the initiative to attack the trial disciples. Unless you were planning to obtain some kind of opportunity or plan to enter a secret place, there would be a monster attack. Therefore, he should be safe for the time being. He was currently in the north of the fourth checkpoint. He had already completed his investigation. Other than the extreme thunder place, there was nothing else worth paying attention to. As for the other three directions, Shangguan Lei, Lung Hao, and Dai Yuling had gone there respectively. It was likely that the three of them had obtained all the good stuff. Therefore, his best choice now was to head to the center. In the center of the fourth stage, there was an extremely powerful and dangerous aura. It was completely different from the aura in the four directions. The more dangerous the place, the more bountiful the rewards. Thinking of this, he no longer hesitated and lifted his foot to walk over. Among the four people who entered the fourth stage, he was the strongest and the one who had the best grasp of the surrounding situation. The greatest opportunity naturally belonged to none other than him. The center of the fourth stage was a pitch-black valley. In the valley, pitch-black flames burned like the dark flames of death. From time to time, huge black bubbles would appear in the pitch-black magma and then explode in the rolling magma. Everything here was filled with a dense aura of death. It was as if there was no life in this place, causing people to tremble uncontrollably. Dark flames of death? No, it didn't seem like it. Ling Xiao had absorbed a little of the flame deity's dark flames of death. Therefore, he knew very well that although the dark flames of death had the same attributes as these black flames, they weren't as ancient and terrifying. Could this be the ancient Hell Dragon's dragon extinguishment? Ling Xiao had a very frightening thought. The dark flames of death had slowly evolved from the ancient Hell Dragon's dragon extinguishment. In terms of power, there might not be a clear winner, but their attributes were also very similar. However, there is no doubt that the ancient Hell Dragon's dragon extinguishment was definitely the ancestor of the dark flames of death. As he stood in the valley, Ling Xiao tried his best to extend his vital energy sphere and sense the boundless world of black magma. He was shocked and a little excited. Other people's martial souls weren't easy to use after all, and the Mountain River martial souls help in battle was limited to the Mountain River intent. In fact, the glacier ocean and earth power that he had used previously were just manifestations of the Mountain River intent. What Ling Xiao needed was a stronger martial soul that could complement the Mountain River intent. In fact, when Yuan Venerate had mentioned the 9 great primordial dragon souls, he had been scheming in his heart. Unfortunately, he hadn't had the chance to encounter them. Whether it was the Hemlock martial soul, the Fairy Dragon martial soul, or the Ghost Flame martial soul, they were all half-baked and didn't meet Ling Xiao's requirements. As for the Plague Demon King martial soul, that was a material that he had prepared to use to evolve the 9 demon divine art and not for battle. The Furnace martial soul that he had just obtained was more of an auxiliary type martial soul. He could keep it, but it wouldn't be of much help in battle. Therefore, he really didn't have a suitable martial soul for battle. It would be great if he could really obtain the ancient Hell Dragon martial soul. At the very least, this martial soul would become the strongest martial soul before the ancient Hell Dragon completely recovered. Such a terrifying place with such a dark death aura. It's most likely related to the ancient Hell Dragon. I must go down and take a look. Ling Xiao had already entered his human dragon form, and a layer of sky dragon scale armor covered his body. The mutated ghost flame martial soul also completely enveloped his body. In order to enter this valley full of black magma, he had to give himself the best protection. Otherwise, it would be difficult to come out once he entered. Before he obtained a great opportunity, he absolutely couldn't allow himself to be eliminated. Even so, he could still feel the strange temperature that was both hot and cold at the same time. This black flame was really too strange. Fortunately, he had devoured He Sua's mutated ghost flame martial soul. Because of their similar attributes, he was able to get close. If it were anyone else, they would have been roasted to death just by getting close to the black flames. Ling Xiao took a deep breath, and a pair of golden dragon wings extended from his back. This was because the valley was filled with black magma. It was absolutely impossible to walk through it directly unless he didn't want to live anymore. However, he had the golden dragon wings. He could fly for a period of time and then find a place to rest for a while before continuing. This was one of the areas where he was stronger than others. If it were anyone else in this trial, even if they came here, they would probably be unwilling to give up such a great opportunity. Just as Ling Xiao was about to enter the valley, he suddenly frowned. There seemed to be something in the black magma. Unfortunately, this fourth stage was really strange. The true Yuan ball couldn't extend into the black magma, and the mountain river martial soul map couldn't show what was under the magma. Chapter 583. Unfortunately, the true Yuan ball couldn't enter the black magma to investigate. Otherwise, Ling Xiao would have been able to confirm what the hell was inside. This time, he completely relied on a warrior's intuition to sense that there was something terrifying in the magma. Anyway, it was definitely not easy to deal with. This thing was hidden in the black magma. Not only was it cunning, but it was also very powerful. There was no doubt that it was powerful. If a monster that could survive in this black magma wasn't powerful, then it would be strange. Could it be an immemorial hell dragon? The immemorial hell dragon was a race, not a divine dragon. Therefore, the possibility of an immemorial hell dragon appearing here was quite high. After all, the Moonlight Fairy had sealed the land of dragons in the Moonlight Pagoda. Even if there was another immemorial hell dragon, it didn't seem strange. Although it was dangerous, Ling Xiao had already made up his mind. No matter what was hidden in this black magma valley, even if it was a Heaven Realm expert, he had to go down and take a look. This was because he hoped to obtain the immemorial hell dragon's dragon soul. As long as he obtained it, it would greatly enhance his combat ability. Wealth came from danger. He had always been like this. Moreover, even if he died this time, he would only be eliminated. He wouldn't really die. What was there to be afraid of? Thinking of this, Ling Xiao jumped down the cliff. His golden dragon wings spread out, and he floated more than 10 meters above the black magma. As he got closer to the magma, the hot and cold feeling became more and more intense. Ling Xiao couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. He didn't dare to fly that fast. In this damned place, he could only detect the situation within 100 meters. Moreover, he couldn't release the true Yuan ball under the black magma. This was because the moment the true Yuan ball touched the black magma, it would instantly be burned to ashes. The mutated ghost fire martial soul enveloped his entire body, which made him feel a little better. Even so, he didn't dare to be careless. That fleeting sense of danger just now made him even more cautious. He believed that the sense of danger was definitely not groundless. It was best to be careful. There was never a big mistake. Even in this harsh environment where danger lurked everywhere, he still forced himself to maintain a focused expression. Only in this way would they be able to deal with any crisis that might come at any time. The deeper they flew into the valley, the more intense the feeling of cold and heat became. Their bodies sometimes felt extremely cold, and sometimes they felt extremely hot. That kind of discomfort really made people want to kill themselves so that they could be completely free from this kind of pain. Ling Xiao didn't even dare to breathe, because if he did, the black flames would enter his body along with the air. Even if it was just a little bit of black flame, it would consume a large amount of true essence to transform and absorb. It was too tiring. If he had enough time, he might choose to cultivate in peace. But now he couldn't. He was suspended in the air, and the flight time of the golden dragon wings was limited. If he exhausted his chi here and encountered danger, he could only close his eyes and wait for death. Even so, the black flames were still all-pervasive. He was still unable to seal all the pores in his body, so there were still sporadic black flames entering his body. If not for the fact that he had the 9 meridians spirit body bestowed by the mountain river martial spirit, he would have been able to fuse with almost all types of energy. If he hadn't been constantly training his body since the martial vein realm, even his internal organs would be incomparably tough now. He would probably have been burned to ashes by the black flames. Sure enough, on the path of martial arts, good luck was useless. If you didn't have enough ability, even if you were placed in front of a pile of treasures, you might not be able to obtain it. Tantai Lingzi's luck was good enough. Not long after entering the 3rd level, she discovered the underground city, the city of the Spider Queen. Bai Feifei's luck was also good enough. She encountered the flame deity's clone and discovered the Black Spirit City. But so what? Things that couldn't be obtained in the end. Ling Xiao had no choice but to slow down due to the limited range of his detection and the dense black fog in front of him. He had thought about it. Once the golden dragon wings couldn't support him, he would release the Black Dragon King and let the Black Dragon King fly him. The Black Dragon King still had 2 chances to use it. He didn't use it now because he didn't want to waste it. But if the time came when he had to use it, then he had no other choice. During the flight, Ling Xiao tried his best to remain calm and quiet, not daring to make even the slightest sound, because he didn't want to alarm the mysterious creature in the black lava. He didn't want to be attacked by the other party. He wanted to observe the entire black lava valley first before deciding what to do. The battle could be left for last. As he continued to fly and explore, Ling Xiao was surprised to find that the size of the valley was completely beyond his expectations. He originally thought that this place was about the same size as the Absolute Thunderland, but now it seemed that he had completely underestimated this place. The terrifying black magma had already formed a surging river of magma, and there were even some strange magma fountains. Terrifying, thick black lava spurted up from below, forming a huge pillar of black fire with a diameter of 4 to 5 meters. Every time Ling Xiao encountered something like this, he would feel his heart tremble in fear. Because once he was hit by this thing, he would basically be declared eliminated. Although he believed that his current trial results were already very good, he still couldn't be eliminated because he pursued first place. It wasn't as simple as having good results. According to his judgment, there were still 3 people in the Moonlight Pagoda. One was him, and the other 2 were Dai Yuling and Tantai Lingzi. No matter what the situation of the other 2 was, he couldn't be eliminated. He hadn't obtained the ancient hell dragon martial soul of his dreams, and he hadn't obtained first place in this trial. He wouldn't admit defeat so easily. Licking his chapped lips, Ling Xiao felt as if he was a pill that had been thrown into a furnace. However, this furnace used yin-yang fire. One moment it was hot, the next it was cold, and the next his body was abnormally dry, as if it was about to burn. The next moment it was extremely cold, and he felt like his body was about to be completely frozen. It was extremely uncomfortable, but he didn't dare to stop. Once he stopped and was hit by the huge pillar of black fire, he would directly turn into powder. Just as Ling Xiao saw a piece of land appear in front of him, a terrifying energy suddenly erupted from behind him. The originally calm surface of the river suddenly exploded with a thunderous sound, and countless scorching and cold black lava shot out in all directions. Amidst this terrifying explosion, a huge, mysterious creature suddenly exerted strength at an extremely fast speed, flying out of the black lava and pouncing towards Ling Xiao. That speed was not the slightest bit inferior to Ling Xiao's Cloud Dragon Divine Travel. Chapter 584. The terrifying creature had a huge body. When it attacked, it actually caused the lava to dance in the air. Countless lava waves rolled, causing the entire valley to look like it was the end of the world. It was extremely terrifying. It was also extremely spectacular. In midair, Ling Xiao's golden dragon wings flapped fiercely. Then he sped up and rushed forward. there was a piece of land that was relatively far away from the black lava. At this moment, his golden dragon wings were about to reach their limit. It was not worth it to fight in midair. Therefore, he had to find a place to stand and recover before dealing with this mysterious creature. With the help of the golden dragon wings, Ling Xiao's speed increased explosively. However, even so, the terrifying mysterious creature's speed was not any slower than his. As it fell behind, it let out a hair-raising roar. Ling Xiao did not even look back as he continued to flee. He could even feel a scalding hot breath coming from behind him. Although the monster's body was huge, it was shockingly fast as it swam in the lava. Moreover, this fellow seemed to be able to control the black lava. During the chase, it suddenly opened its mouth and spat out a stream of black lava directly towards Ling Xiao's back. Cloud Dragon Divine Travel, Illusion Array. At this crucial moment, Ling Xiao upgraded the Cloud Dragon Divine Travel to its second form. His speed did not slow down. Instead, his footsteps became strange. His flight path suddenly changed. When the black lava shot passed, it only hit his afterimage. Then it hit a rock in the valley. That rock immediately melted and became a new stream of black lava. With the help of the Cloud Dragon Divine Travel, Illusion Array, Ling Xiao barely avoided the monster's attack. However, the situation was still very dangerous. Roar! Seeing that its prey had actually escaped its pursuit, the mysterious creature let out an unwilling roar. It was even somewhat furious. It opened its mouth and sucked in a mouthful of the black lava river. Then, its stomach suddenly swelled up. Then it opened its mouth and spat out. Different from the previous stream of black lava, this time it was a torrential rain of lava. Even if Ling Xiao used the Cloud Dragon Divine Travel, Illusion Array, it was impossible for him to avoid such a concentrated attack. This was simply an inescapable trap. Can't avoid it? Then let's fight. Ling Xiao suddenly stopped running, summoned the Ice Dragon sword in midair, and slashed out. Blizzard. In the past, it would take a long time to accumulate power to release Ice Storm, but now it was as easy as flying snow. The terrifying snowstorm met the black lava rain that filled the sky. Ling Xiao didn't even look at him. He turned around and continued to run. Behind him, the ice storm and the black lava rain were in a stalemate for a while before they were completely separated. However, the majority of the black lava rain had been shattered and frozen by the ice storm. The remaining lava rain did not pose much of a threat to Ling Xiao. Using the Cloud Dragon Divine Trek, Illusory Array, he could easily avoid it. However, the danger would not be eliminated because of this. The monster's attack did not stop there. Ling Xiao's true Yuan Ball touched the monster, and in that instant, most of the monster's image appeared in his mind. He couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. However, this was followed by a strong sense of surprise. This monster that was lying in ambush in the lava, ready to attack the martialists who dared to enter this place, was a divine dragon that was more than 100 meters long. Its dragon scales were all black, which was similar to a black dragon, but it was even more beautiful. The most amazing thing was that this dragon actually had a row of transparent wings on its back. These wings started from the bottom of its neck and extended to its tail. The wings weren't big, and they were very similar to the wings of a dragonfly, but there were too many of them. Black, glowing inscriptions appeared on each pair of wings, which should be one of the divine texts that belonged to this monster. On its head, the eyes of the divine dragon were scarlet red, like a crazy bull. What a strange creature. Could this be the legendary ancient Hell Dragon? Ling Xiao couldn't help but exclaim inwardly. He had only heard his Yuan venerate master mention the 9 great ancient dragon souls, but he didn't know what they looked like. Just as he was puzzled, a strong sense of danger emerged in his heart. He suddenly injected a large amount of true origin energy into the golden dragon wings and flew forward at a faster speed. Although he didn't know what the monster wanted to do, he knew that the upcoming trouble would be greater than the previous ones. Just as he rushed out a few hundred meters, the strange, mysterious creature actually stood up on its upper body. Then, the black inscriptions on its strange, transparent wings emitted a bright light. Then, dozens of dense black light rays shot out from the wings. They were so fast that they almost instantly closed in on Ling Xiao. Whoosh! A black light ray shot directly through Ling Xiao's abdomen, leaving a black wound that was as thick as a bowl. However, there was no blood because the area around the wound had been burned dry. Furthermore, the black flames continued to spread, and the wound became bigger and bigger. Whoosh! Another black light ray shot through Ling Xiao's thigh. He had already tried his best to dodge. There were a total of 30 rays of light, and he had already dodged more than 20 of them. However, the speed of the rays of light was too fast, and there were too many of them. In the end, he was still unable to completely dodge them. Therefore, he could only protect his vital parts from being injured. As for the other places, if they were injured, then so be it. Anyway, he had the heavenly dragon golden body, so he wasn't afraid that he couldn't repair them. However, the black flames were too difficult to deal with. After shooting him, they didn't immediately extinguish, but continued to spread. Even if he used his true origin energy, he couldn't absorb and transform it in such a short time. Damn it! Am I really going to be eliminated? Ling Xiao couldn't help but smile bitterly. This was a bit too tragic. He couldn't even escape? Just as he planned to directly enter the immemorial golden dragon form and make a final gamble, he suddenly found that the black flames were directly absorbed into the mountain river world. And inside his body, something seemed to have awakened. At this time, the mountain river world had the aura of another creature. And what surprised Ling Xiao the most was that this creature wasn't assimilated into his martial soul by the mountain river martial soul. This was a rare thing. To be able to resist the assimilation effect of the mountain river martial soul, there were only two possibilities. One was that this creature was at the same level as the mountain river martial soul. The other possibility was that this creature was born in the mountain river martial soul, so it was very natural for it to adapt to that environment. Looking into the mountain river world, Ling Xiao found that there was an additional creature in the mountain river world, and it was actually a colorful butterfly. At this time, it was the butterfly that was absorbing the black flames. The butterfly wasn't big, and it looked no different from an ordinary butterfly. However, Ling Xiao, who was proficient in array inscriptions, could see that on the butterfly's 2 pairs of colorful wings, there were complicated and beautiful divine runes that contained extremely terrifying power. Chapter 585. Legend has it that before the mysterious world was opened, there were some terrifying creatures, and one of them was a butterfly. It only needed a light flap of its wings to affect a world, causing earth-shattering changes to the world. Ling Xiao didn't know the relationship between this little butterfly in his mountain river world and the legendary butterfly. But for now, this little butterfly had helped him a lot. That black flame, even he couldn't easily absorb it, but this little thing absorbed it very easily. It was simply treating the black flame as a delicacy. However, there was something that made him unhappy. That was, this little butterfly had eaten many of the spirit flowers and herbs in his body. Not only that, it had even eaten the fairy dragon martial spirit. Ling Xiao couldn't help but exclaim, "Where did this little thing get such a big appetite?" And it wasn't picky at all. Fortunately, when this little thing was preparing to devour the plague demon king martial spirit, it entered the black flame from the outside. It probably felt that the black flame tasted better, so it chose to give up. Damn you! After I obtained the fairy dragon martial spirit, I only used it once, and it was eaten by this little thing. What kind of monster are you? Ling Xiao didn't stop running as he looked inside his body. He was a person who could do 2 things at once, so this wasn't a problem. As if it heard Ling Xiao's dissatisfaction, the little butterfly's round eyes turned and revealed a stingy expression. Wait a minute. This little thing doesn't seem to be a butterfly. Ling Xiao took a closer look and discovered that although this little thing's wings were undoubtedly butterfly wings, its body was completely different from a butterfly's. Its body was actually a little person that didn't even reach the height of Ling Xiao's pinky finger. This little person was wearing green clothes that seemed to be condensed from energy. Upon closer look, it was actually a little beauty. She looked fresh and juicy, but her head was a little too small. Please, you're saying that I'm stingy? You ruined all the spirit grasses and spirit herbs that I painstakingly planted and even ate my martial spirit. Didn't I just say one sentence, and you're actually blaming me for being stingy? If it weren't for this little thing's cute appearance, Ling Xiao would have slapped it to death. While eating the black flame, the little thing curled its lips at the medicine field. It didn't seem to be able to speak, so it could only use its actions to express its meaning. Ling Xiao curiously looked at the medicinal field. Only then did he realize that although the little thing was gluttonous and ate all the medicinal herbs that were more than 1,000 years old, it kept the seedlings of each of them. It did not kill the goose that laid the golden eggs and drain the pond to catch all the fish. This couldn't be considered as destroying. But even so, it was still too ruthless. He had just obtained the meridian strengthening grass from the Moonlight Treasure Pagoda and was preparing to refine the meridian strengthening pill. And that golden snow lotus, it was 1,000-year-old one. This brother couldn't bear to use it, but it was eaten by a little guy like you. Ling Xiao still felt uncomfortable in his heart. Seeing that Ling Xiao was still not satisfied, Little Butterfly could not help but sigh. She then pointed at the mountain river world and made a gesture of wanting to go out. Yu's coming out. It's very dangerous outside. Ling Xiao certainly wouldn't let this little thing go. What a joke. After eating so many of his good things, he had to collect some interest. N. Little Butterfly made a fighting gesture. Are you serious? You said you can help me fight? You're just a little thing. Save it. Although he said that, Ling Xiao suddenly remembered that Little Butterfly could quickly devour the black flame. What he was most afraid of now was the black flame. With Little Butterfly's help, it might be a lot easier. However, before letting the little fellow out, Ling Xiao had to be prepared. Who knew if the little butterfly would run away after it came out, leaving him with nothing to show for it? He remembered that before Little Butterfly was born, it had absorbed a large amount of his spirit power. At the same time, it had also absorbed a large amount of the mountain river martial spirit's energy. How could his spirit power be so easily digested? Thinking of this, Ling Xiao tried to urge the mountain river will. In that instant, the originally lively and adorable little butterfly fell directly from midair to the ground. Then its body trembled continuously as if it had sensed an extremely terrifying power. Hee, I didn't expect you to be afraid of something. Ling Xiao laughed. It seems that although Little Butterfly is powerful, it is still inferior to the mountain river martial spirit. Although the mountain river martial spirit is the human king's martial spirit, it is still unknown where the human king obtained it. More importantly, all the martial spirits in the mysterious world were created by the mountain river martial spirit. The mountain river martial spirit is the king of all martial spirits. It is not an exaggeration to say that the mountain river martial spirit is the king of the mysterious world. In that case, he is not afraid of Little Butterfly running away. Although Little Butterfly looks powerful, it is afraid of the mountain river martial spirit's will. Thinking of this, he immediately let Little Butterfly out. Little thing, listen up. You can't eat the things in the mountain river world. If you want to eat something, you can tell me. I will try my best to satisfy you. But after eating, you have to work. I don't want to raise a useless thing. Ling Xiao is not afraid that Little Butterfly will eat until he is poor. With his ability, it is easy to find food for Little Butterfly. It is just that he hates Little Butterfly eating his things. This time, Little Butterfly did not eat his key item. If she really ate the Plague Demon King martial spirit, he will go crazy. Little Butterfly nodded vigorously. Looking at her big watery eyes, Ling Xiao's heart softened. Forget it, I won't scare you anymore. However, what I said before still counts. If you dare to act recklessly, I will definitely not let you off. Ling Xiao disdained to bully a little butterfly, but when it comes to some matters of principle, he will definitely adhere to it. He will not let little butterfly ruin his plan. Whoosh! Behind him, an even more terrifying light beam flew over. This time, 30 light beams condensed into one. The light beam was still more than 10 meters away from Ling Xiao, but the blazing temperature had already burned Ling Xiao's clothes. One must know that the clothes he is wearing are the clothes that the Yuehua school gave to the outer sect disciples. It is not a treasure, but it has the ability to resist high temperature and cold. But in an instant he felt as if he was about to be burned. This feeling is not comfortable. If he was hit, he will probably turn into ashes in an instant. Fortunately, he has eaten the fire spirit fruit before. His body's fire resistance has greatly increased. Although his clothes are burning hot, his skin can still withstand it. But the closer he is, the higher the temperature. Ling Xiao estimates that even if he enters the ancient golden dragon form, he will not be able to withstand this high temperature. He can only try this as a last resort. Little butterfly, it is up to you. Ling Xiao placed all his hopes on little butterfly. He does not know why, perhaps because little butterfly has absorbed a large amount of his soul power, but he feels that little butterfly is quite close to him. Chapter 586. Yes, yes. The little butterfly nodded with puffed-up cheeks. She had already arrived behind Ling Xiao. She looked so small, but when she was serious, she gave off a very trustworthy feeling. Suddenly, the little butterfly's 2 pairs of wings flickered with a bright light. When the huge black pillar of light reached her, it instantly shrunk from a thick pillar to the size of a needle tip, and then crazily poured into the little guy's wings. Yes. The little guy nodded with satisfaction, then turned around and made a victory sign to the stunned Ling Xiao. Damn it! I can't believe that I, Ling Xiao, can't even compare to a little butterfly. This is too embarrassing. In any case, the little guy's appearance had indeed blocked a huge crisis for Ling Xiao. Tired. The little butterfly finally made the first sound that was exactly like a human's, but it was a childish voice that sounded like a baby's. Then she turned into a colorful light and returned to the mountain river realm, lying down among the flowers and falling asleep. Sleep well, thank you. At this moment, Ling Xiao's anger towards the loss of his martial soul and the exotic flowers and herbs had completely vanished. The little butterfly had blocked the attack for him, which was equivalent to preserving his qualification to continue the pagoda ascension ceremony. In this way, he might be able to obtain a greater opportunity. Compared to a greater opportunity, what was the loss of those things? At this time, he had already taken advantage of the little butterfly blocking the attack for him to reach the only open space in the valley. Sure enough, this place seems a little strange. That monster doesn't dare to come close. Ling Xiao stood on the open space and saw the monster roaring angrily in the black magma. The magma was constantly being slapped around, but it didn't dare to come close to the open space. This must be the so-called chance of survival. The difficulty of the Moonlight Pagoda was relatively low. After all, it was only a trial. The Moonlight Heavenly Maiden couldn't really let her successor be killed or eliminated quickly. Therefore, when she designed these secret areas, she left a chance of survival. As for whether they could reach this place of survival, it would depend on the ability of the trial disciples. At the very least, Ling Xiao was almost eliminated by that monster. After carefully analyzing the monster, Ling Xiao was able to determine the exact strength of the monster. No wonder he was able to beat him up. This monster was actually more powerful than the guardian of the 3rd stage. He had already reached the 2nd stage of the celestial realm, the Yin and Yang heavenly realm. The heaven realm was different from the transcendent realm. The heaven realm had a total of 10 stages, and each stage represented a massive change. They also had their own unique changes. After reaching the celestial realm, the 9 martial veins would completely merge into one and become the heavenly veins. From the first layer to the 10th layer, they were respectively one-line sky, sky of yin and yang, sky of 3 talents, sky of 4 symbols, sky of 5 elements, sky of 6 arts, sky of 7 stars, sky of 8 trigrams, sky of 9 layers, sky of 10 directions. Of course, in order to make it easier for cultivators to understand, they would usually still narrate, compile books, or even give lectures according to the 10th layer of the heaven tier. The previous guardian of the 3rd stage was a powerhouse at the first level of the celestial realm, who was also a powerhouse at one-line sky. A powerhouse at one-line sky had just finished merging 9 martial veins. The heavenly veins were only a single line and were very small, but the total amount of true chi they could hold was far more than a transcendent realm cultivator. The monster in front of him was a powerhouse at the 2nd layer of the celestial realm, which was also a powerhouse at 2-line sky. At this time, the heavenly veins were divided into 2 colors, black and white, which became more obvious and much larger. Naturally, it was stronger than a powerhouse at 1-line sky. Ling Xiao still felt a little scared. No wonder his speed was not as fast as the monster. This guy was actually so strong that he was not eliminated by it. It was really lucky. But even if the monster could not get close, what should he do next? Ling Xiao was basically certain that the monster in front of him was an ancient hell dragon. Moreover, it was a pure-blooded ancient hell dragon, not a mixed blood dragon like the black dragon. Even if this guy's strength did not seem strong now, once he took it as his martial soul, it could continue to grow stronger. But what should he do? He definitely could not beat it. There seemed to be no other way. Ling Xiao thought of a way while stuffing a large number of high-grade True Essence pills and a few healing pills into his mouth. The high-grade True Essence pills were refined by him, and the healing pills were obtained from the trial in the Moonlight Pagoda. Now, no matter what method he used, he had to first recuperate his body. No matter what, he had to get his hands on this ancient hell dragon. Even if he did not take it as his martial soul, he could temporarily trap it in the mountain river world and slowly train it in the future. However, the difference between pets and martial souls was still quite big. Pets could only help in battle and were considered external forces. However, martial souls were related to the martial artist's soul and blood. When it reached a certain level, not only could it help in battle, it could also allow the martial artist to use the various abilities of the martial soul. Therefore, in a sense, a martial soul was much more useful than a pet. If possible, Ling Xiao still hoped to turn the ancient hell dragon into his martial soul. Pets were too difficult to control. If they betrayed him, he might hurt himself. However, martial souls absolutely could not betray him. But in the end, it was still the same problem. How to defeat this guy? If he could not defeat it, he could not subdue it, let alone convert it into a martial soul. Even a heaven realm expert of the same realm would definitely not be a match for this kind of pure-blooded ancient beast. Not to mention that Ling Xiao was now only a transcendent realm martial artist. It was even more impossible for him to win. Rely on the little butterfly? Don't think about it. The little butterfly was now full and tired. It was sleeping soundly. It was better to look for it first. Since that guy did not dare to approach this place, it meant that there should be something here that could restrain it. Moreover, since the Moonlight Fairy had left a chance for survival, there would naturally be a possibility of subduing the ancient hell dragon. When his body recovered to its peak condition, Ling Xiao got up and searched the open space. It was impossible for him to not find something that others could not find. Releasing the True Essence Ball, coupled with the analysis ability of the Mountain River Martial Soul, he found the key in an instant. In this open space, there was an altar completely covered by soil. Ling Xiao dug up all the soil and approached the altar, hoping to find something useful on it. On the altar, there was a sculpture of a very beautiful woman. However, the more he looked at it, the more it looked like the little butterfly. Forget it. Ling Xiao shook his head and looked at the necklace on the neck of the sculpture on the altar. High imitation, pendant of justice. This was the conclusion of the Mountain River martial soul after analysis. High imitation, pendant of justice, immortal grade artifact. It can only be used once. It can temporarily allow one's strength to reach the stage where it is completely connected to the opponent's. One of the 12 immortals of the ancient era, the law enforcement celestial venerable who controlled the laws of the sacred dynasty of the human race, possessed the real treasure here. Chapter 587. This pendant is an imitation of the pendant of justice, one of the 12 human immortals of the sacred dynasty. It can only be used once against experts below the Grotto Heaven realm. It can only be used for 2 hours. Seeing this, Ling Xiao couldn't help but smile. Sure enough, since it was an opportunity, there would be a chance to obtain it. Because the strength of the trial disciples who entered the Moonlight Pagoda was uneven, it didn't seem appropriate to set up monsters of any level here. Making such an imitation of the Pendant of Justice would be just right for anyone to use. The Moonlight Goddess really put in a lot of effort. But for 100,000 years, not a single disciple had been able to enter the 4th stage, let alone reach this place. Thank you, ancestral grandmother. No matter what, I, Ling Xiao, am a disciple of the Yuehua school. Even if someone is dissatisfied with me and tries to scheme against me, I'll just deal with the person and not the sect. I'll just clean up this trash. Ling Xiao was sincerely grateful to the Yuehua school. However, the Yuehua school was the Yuehua school. Those who were against him still had to be cleaned up one by one, unless they bowed down to him. He reached out and took off the pendant of justice, then put it around his neck. At that moment, Ling Xiao felt a strange power surge into his body. This feeling was really strange. He couldn't get used to suddenly having the cultivation of the heaven realm and the 2 forms heavenly realm. But fortunately, he had the Mountain River martial soul. After a moment of discomfort, he quickly grasped this power. Whoosh, the golden dragon wings spread out again, and Ling Xiao returned to the black magma. Roar! Seeing Ling Xiao appear again, the ancient hell dragon let out a crazy and excited roar. It opened its huge mouth and bit at Ling Xiao. The golden dragon wings on his back flapped gently, and Ling Xiao's figure suddenly moved, leaving only an afterimage on the spot. He easily dodged this attack. Rumble! The ancient hell dragon didn't have time to withdraw its attack. Its huge head smashed into the magma, and with a loud boom, black magma flew out in all directions, intertwining into a torrential downpour. This lasted for a full 2 to 3 minutes before it finally stopped. Floating in the air, Ling Xiao sneered. Then the ice dragon sword appeared in his hand. With a move of his feet, he appeared on the neck of the ancient hell dragon almost instantly. At this moment, there were black flames under his feet. If it was before, his legs would have been crippled. But now he had the effect of the pendant of impartiality, and his cultivation had reached the celestial realm. The wind celestial phenomenon seeped out of his body and actually forced back the black flames. She couldn't get close to him. Then the ice dragon sword in his hand condensed true yuan, accompanied by the sound of thunder and lightning, coupled with the water blue ice crystals, ruthlessly pierced towards the ancient hell dragon's neck. Lightning constellation, congealed water. The water blue ice crystals and the black flames reflected each other's brilliance, revealing a very gorgeous color, dazzling the eyes of those who looked at it. Chi. The ice dragon sword was wrapped in lightning and ice, not giving the ancient hell dragon any chance to dodge. The tip of the sword ruthlessly pierced into its neck, piercing through the shining black and purple dragon scales. Then the ice crystals shattered and the lightning wreaked havoc. Large amounts of blood spurted out from under the dragon scales, falling into the black flames. It had to be said that the dragon blood of the ancient hell dragon was really powerful. Even the black flames were unable to burn it. It actually turned into drops of crystals, sinking into the magma. Roar! The neck was suddenly attacked, and the injury was not light. The ancient hell dragon suddenly let out an ear-piercing cry. Its huge body directly rushed into the magma, attempting to bring Ling Xiao into the pitch-black magma, as if it could kill Ling Xiao like this. However, it was a pity. After Ling Xiao obtained the pendant of impartiality, not only did his attack increase, but his defense also became very terrifying. Even the mutated ghost flame, martial soul, had been strengthened. Although there was still a sizzling sound when he sank into the lava, Ling Xiao did not suffer any damage at all. Even Lin Xiao himself felt that this strength was inconceivable. The ancient hell dragon was enraged. A mere human dared to stand on its body. Its body twisted into a strange shape and then wrapped Ling Xiao in it. Its shining wings flashed with a strange light. Hee, angry from embarrassment. Facing such a situation, Ling Xiao's expression did not change. I have never lost to an opponent of the same level. Even the ancient hell dragon is the same. You are stronger than warriors of the same level, but I am stronger than you. Ling Xiao was never conceited, he was just confident. If it was before, facing such an attack, he could only run for his life. But now, facing such an attack, he could completely ignore it, because to him, it was not a threat at all. At this time, a figure appeared near the valley. It was Dai Yuling. Dai Yuling's aura, compared to before, had a great change. It felt like she was different from before, but he could not tell what had changed. Standing on the valley, Dai Yuling looked at the terrifying energy emitted by the dazzling black light and could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. What kind of battle was this? How could it be so terrifying? Boom! At a certain moment, the ancient hell dragon's attack was finally released. On its body, there were 100 pairs of wings, and this time it also released 200 rays of black light. These 200 rays of light condensed into a ring, and this ring was rapidly shrinking. When it shrank to a certain extent, it would completely kill Ling Xiao. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang. Terrifying energy fluctuations continued to spread out, and the valley continued to explode. Magma continued to spurt out, forming the magma pillars of the secret technique. This was just the energy emitted by the energy ring, and it had already formed such a terrifying destructive force. If he was attacked, what would happen? Above the valley, Dai Yuling's eyes showed a special dark green color, and the surrounding plants seemed to be under her control. In the valley, plants that could resist the black flames also transmitted the battle scene to her. Looking at the doomsday-like scene in the valley, her entire body could not help trembling. Her strength increased, and her senses became sharper. This kind of attack was enough to easily raze Tianfeng City to the ground. She did not know what method Ling Xiao was going to use to deal with it. One had to know even a 4th or 5th level Celestial Realm powerhouse would not have many ways to deal with such an attack. At the very least, they absolutely did not dare to take it head-on. Ling Xiao's strength seems to be on par with that monster, but even so, he can't take this attack. Dai Yuling was a little nervous, but at the same time, she strangely developed a feeling of trust in Ling Xiao. She kept feeling that Ling Xiao definitely had a special purpose for doing so. Chapter 588. Thinking that Ling Xiao might have his own plans, Dai Yuling didn't rush down rashly. Moreover, although her strength had increased, she didn't dare to go down rashly. That kind of black magma could only be crossed by a cultivator who could fly. At this moment, she was surprised to find that the energy ring was rapidly weakening. Upon closer inspection, Ling Xiao was standing in the middle of the ring. He didn't dodge, nor did he take it head-on. Behind him, a huge furnace appeared. The black light and flames were all absorbed by this huge furnace. The furnace was like a bottomless pit that couldn't be filled. Hee, It'll be easier to absorb energy in the future. Under the Transcendent Realm, Ling Xiao didn't dare to use the furnace martial spirit rashly because it would be useless and might even cause the martial spirit to be destroyed. However, things were different now. He had the effect of the pendant of justice. He was a warrior in the celestial being realm and yin-yang heaven. As his strength increased, the power of the furnace martial soul also increased greatly. It was too easy for him to absorb such energy. The furnace itself was used to store flames and then used to temper other things. As for flames, it naturally didn't reject them. As the furnace martial spirit madly absorbed, the energy ring became thinner and thinner. Even the black magma in the valley became less and less. Ling Xiao was clearly trying to move the entire magma out of this place. In the end, the energy ring completely disappeared. Even the black magma turned from a big river to a small river. Unfortunately, Ling Xiao's strength was limited. The furnace martial spirit had reached its energy limit and couldn't continue to absorb. Tisk, one can't be too greedy. Let's leave it at that. Behind Ling Xiao in the huge furnace, the black flames kept rolling. Then, the huge lid of the furnace was closed. No matter how chaotic the situation inside was, there was no longer any commotion outside. It's delicious, this black flame. After I obtain the ancient hell dragon martial spirit, I'll use it as nourishment to cultivate this martial spirit. Ling Xiao looked at the trembling ancient hell dragon at his feet and smiled. Of course, such delicious flames must be left behind to condense into hellfire true essence. This way it would be easier to refine pills and set up arrays. Woo! Seeing its powerful attack being completely absorbed by the terrifying human, the ancient hell dragon's eyes were filled with shock and fear, and its body was trembling. It's time to end this. Ling Xiao knew that if he wanted to obtain the ancient hell dragon martial soul, he would first have to keep it in the mountain river realm. Of course, it would be best to beat him until he was half dead. That would be even more effective. Then he stabbed his sword at the ancient hell dragon beneath his feet. As he stabbed out, a terrifying force tore through space and slammed into the huge body of the ancient hellish dragon. In an instant, the terrifying True Yuan Qi blasted the shiny black scales on the ancient hell dragon's body into dust. The sword Qi continued to penetrate deeper into the ancient hell dragon's body. The ancient hell dragon's body was bent from the impact. Some of them fell directly into the black lava. Roar! The sudden fear and pain caused the ancient hell dragon to raise its huge head and let out a hoarse cry. Although it was afraid of Ling Xiao, it was now in a frenzied state. The black flames it spat out were much stronger and denser than before. Balls of black flames covered the sky and attacked Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao frowned slightly but suddenly smiled. As expected of the ancient hell dragon, even at this time, you still won't submit. Fine, I'll beat you until you admit defeat. The True Yuan on his body became even more violent. At the same time, he entered his human dragon form, and his terrifying aura rose again. Behind him, the huge furnace appeared again, and it was filled with a strong hellish aura. It had evolved. Ling Xiao was a little puzzled. This furnace martial soul was very different from before. It gave off an aura that was very similar to the ancient hell dragon. Hellfire furnace martial soul? Faintly, he could hear the whispers of ghosts, the roars of monsters, and the strong smell of sulfur. Could it be that this furnace was originally a treasure that belonged to the ancient hell dragon? It and the ancient hell dragon are inseparable existences? Ling Xiao felt that his brain wasn't enough, but there was no need to figure this out. After the transformation, the hellfire furnace martial soul was obviously stronger. If he could subdue the ancient hell dragon and combine the two, its power would probably be even stronger. Just as he was thinking about these things, the ancient hell dragon's attacks didn't stop. Balls of black flames kept attacking, as if they were going to drown him. Ling Xiao didn't move. The furnace behind him opened its lid, and the same black flames were spat out. But clearly, the power was more terrifying. When the ancient hell dragon's attacks came into contact with these strange flames, they instantly evaporated into nothingness. Outside the valley, Dai Yuling looked at this scene in shock. She was completely stunned. She had originally wanted to come help after sensing Ling Xiao's aura after obtaining her own opportunity, but now she was just watching the show. Watching Ling Xiao's performance alone. The ancient hell dragon's dragon extinguish was completely extinguished. Then Ling Xiao held the ice dragon sword in his hand, wrapped in a dense cold air, and constantly stabbed the ancient hell dragon's huge body. Every stab would leave a deep wound on the ancient hell dragon's tough body. The originally black dragon scales had turned blood red, and the sight of it made one's scalp tingle. Without the hellfire furnace, the ancient hell dragon had already used all its attacking methods, but it couldn't pose any threat to Ling Xiao. It could only constantly dodge Ling Xiao's attacks, letting out mournful cries that frightened the surrounding monsters. So much so that for such a long time, no other monster appeared in the center of the fourth stage. Die. For the last attack, Ling Xiao burst out with the most terrifying attack under his current cultivation. Wind celestial phenomenon, thunder celestial phenomenon, rain celestial phenomenon, lightning celestial phenomenon, mountain river will. All the power gathered together, releasing a terrifying ice storm. The ancient hell dragon was like a leaf in the wind, constantly being torn apart by this terrifying energy. In the end, the valley collapsed, and the surroundings turned into ruins. The ancient hell dragon was also completely destroyed, leaving only a ball of black light floating in the air, like a black sun. Return. Ling Xiao kept this ball of black light into the mountain river world. Through the analysis of the mountain river martial spirit, he already knew that this black ball of light was the ancient hell dragon's soul. It was the ancient hell dragon's dragon soul inheritance, but he didn't know how to fuse it. Chapter 589. Ling Xiao originally thought that as long as he kept the ancient hell dragon's soul in the mountain river world, he would be able to convert it into his martial soul like other things. But after trying, he realized that he was a little too naive. This was the dragon soul of the 9 great ancient divine dragons, not an ordinary thing. How could it be converted into a martial soul so easily? Ling Xiao. Just as he was puzzled, he heard someone calling him. Was it Dai Yuling? Ling Xiao raised his head to take a look, then flew over. Are you okay, senior sister Yuling? When Ling Xiao saw Dai Yuling, he was also very happy. If he had to rank them among the people who had entered the Moonlight Pagoda this time, the one who had the closest relationship with him was naturally Dai Yuling. Therefore, he hoped that Dai Yuling could obtain an opportunity in the Pagoda Ascension ceremony and get a good result. Thanks to you, I found a great opportunity in the 4th stage. Now my martial soul has changed. While speaking, Dai Yuling released her martial soul. It was no longer a cherry tree, but a gourd vine. Legend had it that in the ancient era, the human king found a gourd vine with 7 gourds growing on it. Each gourd represented a terrifying ability. The human king plucked the gourds and made them into 7 magic treasures. It was also his most powerful magic treasure. Now, the magic treasure had disappeared with the human king. But unexpectedly, the gourd vine was transplanted into the Moonlight Pagoda by the Moonlight Fairy, and Dai Yuling encountered it and obtained this terrifying inheritance. Congratulations, senior sister Yuling. Ling Xiao was also happy for Dai Yuling. After inheriting this inheritance, not only did Dai Yuling's martial soul become extremely powerful, but more importantly, her cultivation had soared again. She had entered the early stage of the Transcendent Realm's 7th layer, not far from Lang, Hao, and Shangguan Lei. Thank you. You killed the ancient hell dragon just now, right? Dai Yuling asked. That's right. Ling Xiao smiled and revealed the black ball of light. This is the soul ball of the ancient hell dragon. Don't underestimate it just because it's the size of an apple. The terrifying energy it contains is extremely powerful. If this thing is released as an attack, it can easily destroy a city. Even a celestial realm expert would be blasted into smithereens if they encounter it. How do you plan to deal with such a terrifying thing? Dai Yuling couldn't help asking. Ling Xiao stared at the black ball of light for a while, then suddenly grinned and said, "Eat it. Then I'll convert it into my martial soul." Although the black ball of light would lose its destructive power after transforming into a martial soul, it would be very beneficial to Ling Xiao's future development. This was also a choice. Should he choose to make it his weapon, or should he choose to fuse it with his soul? Ling Xiao's choice was naturally the latter. His cultivation would definitely not stop at its current level, nor would it stop at the celestial realm. Having a martial soul that could be upgraded was definitely much better than having a weapon that could not be upgraded. Hearing Ling Xiao's words, Dai Yuling could not help but shudder. She knew very well that it was very dangerous to swallow the black ball of light and fuse it with his soul and bloodline. Even if Ling Xiao's body was very strong and had been tempered from inside to outside, this was not an ordinary soul ball. This was the soul ball of the ancient hell dragon, the dragon's soul inheritance of the ancient hell dragon. She could even imagine Ling Xiao's expression after swallowing it. That was a fate worse than death. You have to think carefully. If the fusion is not successful, you may not even have the chance to be eliminated. You will die here forever. Dai Yuling advised seriously. Ling Xiao, of course, understood the danger. Even with the mountain river martial soul's ability to analyze and calculate, it could not be foolproof. It could only increase the probability of success by 10 to 20%. He could still face death at any time. The most terrifying thing was that the energy was too strong, even exceeding the rules of the Moonlight Pagoda. Then he could be completely trapped here and unable to be teleported out. To put it simply, he would really die. Although Ling Xiao was a calm and collected person, he was able to remain calm at all times. At the same time, he was also a cautious person. Faced with such a choice between life and death, he really could not make up his mind. But now no one could help him. Dai Yuling could not do it either. Dai Yuling's cultivation was too weak. If he placed his hopes on her, the two of them might die together in the end. Staring at the black ball of light, Ling Xiao fell into deep thought. This thing was really a double-edged sword. If he successfully swallowed it, he could obtain the ancient hell dragon's martial soul inheritance. Once he failed, his body could instantly shatter and he would be separated from this world forever. After all, he was just a 14-year-old child. No one could protect him in a critical moment. If he said he would die, he would really die. Ling Xiao stood there, but his mountain river martial soul was rapidly revolving. He was calculating the success rate. If an ordinary person swallowed a dragon soul, the success rate would be at most 1%. Therefore, most people who dared to do so would have their bodies exploded and died. Of course, there were still ways to increase the success rate. The best way was to have a powerful person by his side to protect him. This way, even if he failed, he would not die. Moreover, the success rate would increase by about 10%. Ling Xiao obviously did not have such good luck. If he took this thing outside and let the Moon Maiden protect him, then the Moon Maiden would be ambushed and killed, and he would also die an unnatural death. He was well aware of this matter. Therefore, choosing to swallow the ancient hell dragon's martial soul inheritance in the Moonlight Pagoda was the safest choice. Especially in a place like the fourth stage, it was even safer. The second way to increase the success rate was to use pills. This pill was called the Dragon Soul Pill. This pill was not of high quality. It could only be considered a low-grade yellow-grade pill. This was because it only had one effect, which was to increase the success rate when swallowing a dragon soul. To most people, it was actually not useful. Otherwise, its quality might be even higher. To refine the dragon soul pill, the other supplementary materials were easy to find. However, there was one thing that was extremely difficult to find. That was the dragon core, or dragon pearl. It just so happened that Ling Xiao had this thing. Although his poison dragon pearl had consumed 1% of its energy, it could still be used to refine pills. Anyway, he still had a black dragon pearl. Refining pills was Ling Xiao's forte. The refining of the dragon soul pill would probably not take much time. 15 minutes would be enough. And using the dragon soul pill, the chance of increasing it was also 10%. If Ling Xiao could refine a perfect dragon soul pill, this chance would increase by 20%. In this way, Ling Xiao's success rate would increase by a lot. There was another way, but this was only useful for Ling Xiao. That was the Mountain River Martial Soul's powerful analysis and calculation ability. This could also greatly increase the success rate. Chapter 590. Through the repeated analysis of the Mountain River Martial Spirit, the success rate of devouring could be increased by 20%. Adding the 10% of the Dragon Soul pill, it was 30%. This success rate was already very high. If it were someone else, no one would be able to do it. In addition, Ling Xiao was someone with strong fire and water resistance. This success rate could be increased by another 10%. Adding it up, it was 50%. A 50% success rate sounded very high. However, the risks involved were still extremely great. It could be said that this was still gambling with one's life, fighting with heaven and earth for luck. If one was lucky, one could break out of the cocoon and become a butterfly. From then on, one's cultivation would be smoother. If one was unlucky, one would instantly turn into dust, leaving nothing behind. However, even so what? If he didn't dare to try a 50% success rate, could he still be considered a man? He really couldn't give up, just like that. Since he wasn't willing to give up, then he would completely grasp this opportunity. Since ancient times, the difference between the strong and the weak was often a choice at the critical moment. After a long silence, Ling Xiao made a decision. Let's go, Senior Sister Yuling. Follow me to the Myriad Thunder Extreme Ground and help me guard. The Myriad Thunder Extreme Ground was a relatively safe place. It was more stable to devour inside. Although Dai Yuling said that she couldn't help him much, she could still help him deal with some monsters that suddenly appeared. Although the probability of monsters appearing in the Myriad Thunder Extreme Ground was relatively low, this kind of thing, no one could be sure. It was better to be safe than sorry. With Dai Yuling's help, together with the 50% strength half-step Heavenly Venerable, Extraordinary Swordsman in the Book of Seals, and 30% strength half-step Heavenly Venerable, Black Dragon King, they should be able to block it. Dai Yuling naturally nodded in agreement. She had already obtained the opportunity she needed. Next, it was time to repay the favor. After entering the Myriad Thunder Extreme Ground, Ling Xiao began to refine the Dragon Soul pill. This was just a small matter to him. In less than 15 minutes, the Dragon Soul pill was successfully refined. Then he prepared everything and released the Extraordinary Swordsman, Black Dragon King. He threw the immemorial Hell Dragon's soul ball into his mouth. What the Mountain and River Martial Spirit could not transform, he had to rely on his own ability to transform. Ling Xiao shut his mouth as soon as the black ball of light entered his mouth. At this moment, he felt as though he had been thrown into the magma of purgatory. His entire body trembled in pain. His originally normal complexion had now turned ghastly pale, causing Dai Yuling, who was nearby, to feel extremely worried. However, Dai Yuling was also very clear. She couldn't help Ling Xiao with anything now. Everything could only depend on Ling Xiao's own efforts to overcome everything. No one knew whether he would be a carp leaping over the dragon gate or smashing his head against the dragon gate. Forcefully enduring the heart-wrenching pain, Ling Xiao tightly closed his eyes and used his soul power to observe his body. In the depths of the soul was the Spirit Sea. In the Spirit Sea, there was a world called the Mountain River World, which was the proportion of the mountain river martial spirit in Ling Zhao's soul. The rest of the world was still filled with boundless soul power. Suddenly, a black ball of light appeared in this world. It released terrifying energy and rampaged in this world, attempting to disintegrate and take control of this world. This was just the performance of the Spirit Sea. At the same time, the black ball released terrifying black flames that followed Ling Zhao's meridians and poured into his martial veins. The terrifying heat attempted to turn Ling Zhao's body into ashes. Even with the protection of the Dragon Soul Pill, there was a ball of golden gas in his meridians that resisted the high temperature. However, there were still many black flames that seeped into Ling Zhao's meridians and martial veins. After being filtered by the Dragon Soul Pill, they became much weaker. However, even so, they still put a lot of pressure on his meridians and martial veins. Fortunately, Ling Zhao's body's resistance played a key role at this time. The damage was greatly reduced again. Otherwise, Ling Zhao's meridians would have been completely destroyed. However, after experiencing the battle between the two types of energy, Ling Zhao's meridians were constantly twitching. His martial veins also began to distort and deform. They were like plastic that had been burned. It was extremely strange. It was precisely because of the distortion of his meridians and martial veins that Ling Zhao felt such pain. In addition, the black ball of light in the Spirit Sea was wreaking havoc, causing Ling Zhao to feel even more pressure. This was a double oppression on his body and soul. The double blow was to destroy him and occupy his body and soul. At the crucial moment, Ling Zhao persisted in cultivating and displayed an unexpected and miraculous effect. The originally distorted and broken meridians began to recover and grow faster. Broken and reborn. Reborn and broken. Because of this, many of the rare flowers and herbs in Ling Zhao's Mountain River world were used as nourishment. However, as long as he kept his life, it was the greatest victory for Ling Zhao. Without a sudden burst of power, Ling Zhao's meridians would be completely shattered. His true essence would not be able to circulate. At that time, the black flame would be even more destructive. What awaited him would only be death. But now he was alive and living well. His body was finally free of problems. Although the pain still persisted, to Ling Zhao, this was already an in-progress result. Next, he would use all his strength to control the black ball of light. As long as he could control that, the violent energy could be truly controlled. Mountain River Will. In the Spirit Sea, Ling Zhao added all his soul power to the Mountain River Will and then fiercely attacked the black ball. Kacha! A crack appeared on the ball, as if it had sensed danger and was desperately trying to escape. But what was the use? This was Ling Zhao's Spirit Sea. No matter where the ball was, it was under his control. Continue attacking. One after another, the mountain river will continuously attack the black ball of light, causing more and more cracks to appear on the ball of light. With no way out, the ball of light began to crazily attack the Spirit Sea. This indeed caused a lot of trouble for Ling Zhao, causing Ling Zhao great pain. But seeing that success was imminent, how could Ling Zhao be afraid of this pain? Boom! Another ferocious will struck the ball of light, causing it to explode and emit a dazzling light. Shattered. The moment the ball of light shattered, the shadow of an immemorial hell dragon flew out, intending to escape. But at this point, how could Ling Zhao allow it to escape? He sent the shadow into the Mountain River world. Then the immemorial golden dragon in the Mountain River world stood up. On its gigantic body, there was a scale that shone with a strange light. The shadow of the immemorial hell dragon began to fight with the immemorial golden dragon. One was once one of the 9 great immemorial dragon kings, while the other was once the desolation dragon emperor. Chapter 591. Ling Xiao didn't need to worry about what happened next. With the mountain river martial soul and the ancient golden dragon, taming the ancient hell dragon was only a matter of time. What he needed to do now was to quickly control the crazy energy in his body. After the ball exploded, it released a large amount of black hellfire. If he didn't guide it in time, even his recovery ability wouldn't be able to keep up. His soul power forcefully guided a wisp of black hellfire to circulate in Ling Xiao's body. Wherever it passed, the rest of the hellfire would be absorbed. The ancient hell dragon's energy that was scattered in all directions in Ling Xiao's body was being merged and needed step by step. When the last wisp of black hellfire merged, Ling Xiao discovered that his 9 martial veins had all turned into black true essence, hellfire true essence. And this true essence looked very viscous, like black lava. Whether it was density or quality, it was far superior to any true essence Ling Xiao had before. However, this newly formed true essence wasn't so obedient. After all, there were remnants of the ancient hell dragon's soul power mixed in. In order to obtain freedom, these guys became even more violent. Ling Xiao felt like his body was about to explode. There was actually a pain like something was tearing him apart. Looking from the outside, Ling Xiao's body was actually cracked inch by inch as if it was dry ground. The most terrifying thing was that the cracks weren't filled with blood, but with black lava. At this moment, Ling Xiao looked like a broken porcelain doll that had been glued together with something. A light touch would cause it to shatter completely. Dai Yuling, who was standing to the side, saw this scene and felt her heart ache. Actually, from the moment Ling Xiao helped her take revenge at the Yuehua school and took back her martial soul, she had started to have feelings for this boy. It was a pity that she had never expressed these feelings in person. She wasn't good at expressing her feelings. She just suppressed these feelings in the bottom of her heart and hoped that Ling Xiao would be well. Then she would be happy. At this moment, seeing Ling Xiao's miserable and painful appearance, she really wished she could exchange the two of them. She wanted to help, but just as she approached Ling Xiao, she was sent flying by the terrifying energy. Blood seeped out of her mouth. "What's going on?" "Nothing can happen to you, Ling Xiao." Dai Yuling's eyes were already moist. However, at this moment, waves of energy, fluctuations, suddenly came from outside. Dai Yuling suddenly stood up, closed her eyes, and controlled the plants outside to check the situation. Only then did he realize that the steel battleship that was supposed to be in the 3rd level had actually appeared in the 4th level. Not only that, all the black spirits on the ship were attacking the land of absolute thunders, including the ancient boat king, Tantai Lingzi. Dai Yuling also saw a familiar figure. It was Tantai Lingzi. The woman didn't look like she was being controlled. She was very close to the ancient ship king, almost snuggling up to him, and they were talking and laughing. Because her cultivation was too low, Dai Yuling could only see the scene, but was unable to hear what they were saying. However, this wasn't important. What was important was that Ling Xiao was at a critical moment now. She absolutely couldn't let these people disturb Ling Xiao's devouring plan. Fortunately, the land of absolute thunder's defense was strong enough. According to the current situation, it could still hold on for about 15 minutes. If Ling Xiao hadn't finished devouring by then she could only fight with her life on the line. Anyway, at most she would die. Whether it was being eliminated or real death, Dai Yuling was not afraid. Her mind was only filled with Ling Xiao. Protect Ling Xiao! Protect Ling Xiao! Ling Xiao was dealing with the crisis in his body with all his strength. He didn't know the situation outside. Although his body was in danger of collapsing at any time, he still believed that the most dangerous moment was over. In fact, the moment he shattered that black light ball, it was tantamount to him winning. Although the following experience was incomparably painful because he had a goal, it wasn't that unbearable. Under the control of his powerful soul force, the restless hellfire true essence gradually calmed down, like a beast that was gradually being tamed. Ling Xiao's method of cultivating his soul force all along had huge returns at this moment. The originally violent aura quickly disappeared, and in its place was a warm and familiar feeling. The remnants of the ancient hell dragon's soul force in the black hellfire true essence had been completely eliminated. What was left was Ling Xiao's own soul force. Success! Dai Yuling happily discovered that Ling Xiao's body was beginning to heal, and it wasn't trembling like before. There was even a hint of a victorious smile on his face. Other than success, she couldn't think of anything else. As expected of Ling Xiao, in this kind of pain, he can still maintain his consciousness. If it was me, I definitely wouldn't be able to do it. Too amazing, too amazing. Dai Yuling finally understood why Ling Xiao would always walk in front of others, always one step ahead of others. Only by suffering the hardest can one rise above others. These words were too true. Although Ling Xiao's talent wasn't much, he was especially able to endure hardships and belong to the crazy type. There was simply no one like him. Bang! Suddenly, the thunderstorm at the foot of the mountain made a loud noise, and a huge crater was blasted out. Oh no! Myriad Thunderbolt's extreme land was about to collapse. The enemy's attack was too fierce. Although the thunderstorm hadn't been completely blasted open yet, at most 2 or 3 minutes later, this place would become a dangerous place. Let's go! Dai Yuling glanced at the Black Dragon King and the extraordinary swordsman and rushed down the mountain. She couldn't disturb Ling Xiao's cultivation. If the enemy rushed in, she would hold on for a while. Although the ancient ship king was very powerful and was a one-line sky expert, she had 2 half-step heavenly venerables on her side. In any case, they could hold on for a while. In addition to the powerful auxiliary ability of her new martial soul, she hoped that Ling Xiao could finish devouring the ancient hell dragon martial soul in this time. Boom! In the mountain river world, the phantom of the ancient hell dragon was stepped on by the ancient golden dragon and completely lost its tyrannical aura. At the same time, the will of the mountain river world madly poured in, replacing its own soul, and merged with Ling Xiao's soul. From the outside, Ling Xiao was wrapped in a black light at this time, like a huge black cocoon. He believed that when the cocoon broke open, Ling Xiao would turn into a butterfly. At this time, in Ling Xiao's body, the repair and strengthening were going on at the same time. The black hellfire had previously messed up Lin Xiao's body. Now it was cooperating with the heavenly dragon golden body to repair and strengthen Ling Xiao's damaged meridians, as well as his 5 viscera and 6 bowels. He believed that after this round of recovery and strengthening, the strength of Ling Xiao's body would be greatly enhanced. This would pave the way for him to advance to the heaven realm in the future. Many transcendent realm cultivators, at the final critical moment, died because their bodies weren't strong enough to open the one-line heaven. And this was no longer a problem for Ling Xiao. Chapter 592. Outside Ling Xiao's body, on the black light shield, as the energy continued to change, some cracks gradually appeared. Of course, this was a surprising crack. It meant that Ling Xiao was just a moment away from breaking out of the cocoon. Rumble! The whole mountain suddenly shook. It turned out that a fragment of the black light shield had fallen to the ground. This terrifying energy fragment, such a small fragment, actually brought about such a terrifying tremor. One could not imagine how terrifying it would be if all of it fell. Crack, crack, more and more cracks appeared, and the fragments began to fall, as if an eggshell was breaking, as if a new life was being nurtured inside. The mountain began to shake continuously, as if there was an earthquake. Fortunately, this was the extreme place of myriad thunders, which was protected by a naturally formed array. Otherwise, the mountain would probably have collapsed. Crack! Suddenly, the light shield cracked into 2 halves, revealing Ling Xiao, who was surrounded by black light. His clothes were all destroyed, but the surface of his body formed pieces of black and gold scales, which covered all the vital parts of his body. He slowly opened his eyes, which were originally pitch black, but there were black and gold flames burning in his eyes, and there were even two shadows of black divine dragons. At that moment, the color of his pupils was extremely strange, as if there were some kind of strange black hole, which seemed to be able to suck in everything. However, the shadows of the black divine dragons only flashed by, and the black and gold flames gradually subsided. Other than his eyes turning black and gold, there were no other changes. There was not much difference between black and gold, but it was brighter, and there was a strange feeling to it. Obviously, after being tempered by the black hellfire, Ling Xiao, including his eyes, had undergone a special change. In this way, it seemed to be easier and more natural to use the power of the mountain river martial soul. Ling Xiao slowly opened his eyes, took out a set of clothes from the storage ring, and put them on. The black dragon scales had disappeared, and in their place was a skin that was as smooth as jade. His skin had actually regenerated once again, combining the earth spirit constitution, metal spirit constitution, fire spirit constitution, and water spirit constitution. Together with the blood of the ancient hell dragon, he had created a new body. Well, let's call it the hell dragon constitution. Ling Xiao muttered to himself. He was very satisfied with his current body. From the beginning to the end, the entire process lasted less than an hour. However, in this 1 hour, he had truly suffered a great deal of pain and suffering. Fortunately, he had put in a lot of effort, and he had finally reaped the rewards. Just as Ling Xiao was about to proceed to the next stage of cultivation, he suddenly frowned. His body suddenly flew out. Something had happened. He sensed a dangerous aura, as well as the aura of Dai Yuling's dying struggle. He didn't expect that someone would actually break into the 10,000 lightning extreme ground. At the foot of the mountain, corpses were everywhere. The dead bodies were all black spirits. However, at this moment, Dai Yuling was also seriously injured. She was like a lamp that had run out of oil. Moreover, Tantai Lingzi had used some kind of special secret scroll to trap her soul. If she was killed, she would die here instead of being eliminated. The lives of the Black Dragon King and the extraordinary swordsman were hanging by a thread. His opponent was too strong. The ancient ship king of the one-line sky realm was not a character to be trifled with. Haha, Dai Yuling, if you want to regret being Ling Xiao's friend. Ling Xiao doesn't need other women, or else my plan wouldn't be able to be carried out. Tantai Lingzi sneered. The huge phantom of the Spider Queen behind her was frightening. Numerous silk threads had already tied Dai Yuling up. If Dai Yuling hadn't relied on her newly acquired martial soul to prolong her life, she would have died long ago when facing the late-stage transcendent realm Tantai Lingzi. Even if I die, Junior Brotherling will avenge me. A touch of sadness appeared on Dai Yuling's face. She wasn't afraid of death, but she hated herself for not being able to say those words. Farewell, Junior Brotherling. Ha 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 ha, don't worry. Ling Xiao will die soon, and his body will become a powerful supplement to my life. Tantai Lingzi's beautiful face revealed a hideous and terrifying expression. Is that so? Suddenly a cold voice sounded, as if it was right beside Tantai Lingzi. She looked back in horror, but she didn't see anyone. Where are you looking at? In midair, Ling Xiao stood with his hands behind his back, and the golden dragon wings on his back became even more dazzling. With just a light tap, several rays of sword chi shot out. The silk threads that Tantai Lingzi was so proud of were easily severed, and she lost control of Dai Yuling. Ling Xiao! Dai Yuling cried tears of joy. Ling Xiao went over to check on Dai Yuling's condition and couldn't help but be furious. At this time, Dai Yuling was like a lamp that had run out of oil. If he hadn't arrived in time, he would have only seen a corpse. Tantai Lingzi, don't be afraid. With this senior here, killing him is as easy as killing a chicken for eggs. The ancient Boat King had finished off the Black Dragon King and the Transcendent Saber Master and returned to Tantai Lingzi's side. His voice was full of disdain and strong confidence. Ling Xiao didn't even look at him. He just took out an elixir pill and stuffed it into Dai Yuling's mouth. Then he released a Black Dragon King. At this point, the number of uses of the Black Dragon King card had been used up. Now, Ling Xiao only had 2 chances to use it as a transcendent swordsman. However, it didn't matter. These things were originally auxiliary forces. He could use them when he needed them. There was no need to delay. Moreover, wasn't there a better target in front of him to seal? The ancient Boat King, a Celestial Realm expert, was a Celestial Realm expert. Ling Xiao's Pendant of Justice was still in effect, so his cultivation was now on par with the ancient Boat King. Of course, it was only in terms of cultivation. In terms of strength, Ling Xiao never thought that an enemy of the same realm would be his match. Black Dragon King, protect her! After Ling Xiao released the Black Dragon King, he gave the order. Here, except for the ancient Boat King, no one was a match for the Black Dragon King in his Black Dragon form. Therefore he could rest assured. Bastard! How dare you ignore me? Seeing Ling Xiao's attitude, the ancient Boat King was furious. Whoosh! Leaping from Tantai Lingzi's side, the ancient Boat King turned into a ray of black light. It was as fast as a black feather arrow and went straight for Ling Xiao. Ancient Hell Dragon Martial Soul. You're Ling Xiao's first ancient Hell Dragon Martial Soul. Don't let me down today. Ling Xiao slowly clenched his fist, then raised his head slightly and looked at the ancient Boat King who was coming at him like lightning. In his eyes, the black and golden flames burned again. At the same time, the ancient Hell Dragon's shadow slowly appeared behind him. Die. Ling Xiao spat out a word and then punched out with both fists. Roar, a dragon roar was heard. 9 Meridians Chi Sword, second form, Hell Dragon Sword. The 9 Chi swords condensed into one. The original golden color turned black and golden. On the Chi sword, there was a black divine dragon shadow burning. Chapter 593. After going through so much training, Ling Xiao finally comprehended the second style. If the first style was a large-scale attack, then the second style was a one-on-one attack. The Chi sword, wrapped in the shadow of a black dragon, instantly pierced through the void and pierced the ancient Boat King that was pouncing over. Boom! A huge roar sounded. The giant sword pierced through all the defenses of the ancient Ship King and penetrated its body. Then, the black flame spread out, exuding a terrifying heat. In the blink of an eye, all that was left of the ancient Boat King was a pile of charred charcoal and a remnant soul. Seal! Ling Xiao naturally wouldn't let the ancient Ship King escape. He instantly sealed it on a blank seal card. First level of the Celestial Realm. 1-line Sky Realm. 1 use. Only 1 use? Ling Xiao couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. It seemed that in every super realm, only the top monsters could use it 3 times. For example, a half-step Empyrean of the Transcendent Realm and a half-step World King of the Celestial Realm. However, 1 use was good enough. After all, it was a Celestial Realm powerhouse. Before Ling Xiao reached the Celestial Realm, it could serve as the strongest combat force. The primordial dragon soul is really extraordinary. Ling Xiao couldn't help but praise a few times and then withdrew his attack. After killing the ancient Ship King, the black flame spread out and was constantly devouring the lives of the black spirits. There was no lack of half-step Empyreans among them. Anyway, Ling Xiao now had to take advantage of the time when the Pendant of Justice was still in effect to quickly solve the problem. Otherwise, once the effect disappeared, even if he faced a half-step Empyrean, it would be very troublesome. Unfortunately, it seems that it can't merge with the Hellfire True Essence. After the True Essence is consumed, it can't be replenished. Looks like I have to continue. In this attack, Ling Xiao not only witnessed the terror of the primordial dragon soul, but also realized his current problem. However, this matter wasn't urgent. First, he had to deal with the vicious woman, Tantai Lingzi. Ling Xiao suddenly looked at Tantai Lingzi. He already had the intention to kill and had the means to truly kill Tantai Lingzi here. But when he looked up, he saw that the woman's corpse was already burning in black flames. Suicide? Ling Xiao was stunned. This woman was really cunning. She knew that Ling Xiao would not let her go, so she chose to be eliminated. This way, she could save her life. So what if you've escaped from the Moonlight Pagoda? When I get out, I'll still take your life. Ling Xiao snorted and ignored the woman. Instead, he went back to check on Dai Yuling. Moonlight Pagoda, Inner Court Plaza. Whoosh! Another figure was thrown out. It was a woman. It was Tantai Lingzi. Although her condition had recovered to its peak, her complexion did not look good, as if she had been frightened. Tantai Lingzi, senior sister Tantai, the last ray of hope for Yuehua School. Tantai Lingzi was a little confused when she came out. That was because she felt like a hero who was being treated like a moon surrounded by a myriad of stars. The higher-ups, who usually treated her coldly, were now looking at her with great kindness. Tantai, I intend to accept you as a disciple. Are you willing to accept? Sect Master Chang Yueying suddenly asked. Sect Master, didn't you say that you don't want to accept disciples? Last time, Ling Xiao wanted to be your disciple, but you refused. Why are you taking the initiative to accept a disciple this time? Wang Han Tianzuan asked in astonishment. Chang Yueying smiled awkwardly and said, You all know why I don't accept disciples. I don't accept male disciples, but female disciples are still acceptable. You just don't think much of Ling Xiao's aptitude. Yuan Venerate snorted and secretly transmitted his voice to Yang Danlin. Although no one dared to say this openly, this was probably the real reason. Everything else was secondary. As the sect master of Yuehua School, how could Chang Yueying not be willing to accept disciples? However, as the sect master, if she wanted to accept a disciple, she would accept the most outstanding one. Tantai Lingzi's aptitude was outstanding, and the results of the pagoda ascension ceremony were also very outstanding. She would regret it if she missed this opportunity. Although many other people also had the idea of accepting Tantai Lingzi as a disciple, Chang Yueying had beaten them to it. Disciple is willing. Tantai Lingzi naturally felt that there were many benefits to becoming a disciple. Of course, the most important thing was that she knew that Ling Xiao wouldn't let her off. However, as long as she became sect master Chang Yueying's disciple, then Ling Xiao wouldn't dare lay a hand on her. Therefore, Tantai Lingzi was very happy that Chang Yueying had extended a helping hand. This was simply a timely help. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation was obviously inferior to hers, he should have some kind of treasure in his hands to be able to kill the ancient ship monarch. However, for some reason, she still felt afraid of Ling Xiao. That fellow was simply inhumanly strong. Furthermore, his cultivation speed was too terrifying. It might only be a matter of time before he surpassed her. Ha ha ha. Good, good. I really have to congratulate Sect Master for accepting such a good disciple. She actually persisted in the pagoda ascension ceremony for 11 days. I'm afraid that the things she obtained won't be worse than Sect Master's. Really good. Sect Master Chang Yueli was filled with jealousy and jealousy. These words were meant to praise Tantai Lingzi, but at the same time, there was also a strong sense of jealousy. Because she also wanted to accept Tantai Lingzi. After all, the disciple she had high hopes for, by Fei, had been eliminated too early. Reporting to Sect Master, Tantai Lingzi's final results have been released. At this moment, a golden light shot out from the Moonlight Pagoda. Chang Yueying stretched out her hand, and the golden light immediately fell into her hand. Final result: entering the 4th stage. Hee, not bad, not bad. Chang Yueying was overjoyed, obtained 2,000 moonlight points, 200 points more than Lung Hao. Good, very good. Looking at your cultivation, it seems that you have also broken through, right? I dare not hide it from Master. When Disciple entered, Disciple was at the peak of the Transcendent Realm 8th level. Now, Disciple is at the late stage of the Transcendent Realm 9th level. What? As soon as Tantai Lingzi's voice fell, everyone was shocked. To be able to make such a big breakthrough at the peak of the Transcendent Realm 8th level, this was too amazing. Good, very good. Where are the things you obtained? Chang Yueying was even more overjoyed, while the rest of the higher-ups were filled with regret. Tantai Lingzi's results were actually so good. If they had known, they would have accepted her as a disciple earlier. Now that the sect master had beaten them to it, they no longer had a chance. However, the results that Tantai Lingzi gave next made them even more regretful and jealous. 3 immortal grade artifacts, 4 sets of gold grade martial arts techniques, 10 treasure grade artifacts, 9 sets of gold grade martial arts techniques. In addition to these, what shocked everyone even more was that Tantai Lingzi actually obtained a divine grade artifact. Although she did not have much more moonlight points than Lang Hao, the things she obtained far exceeded his. Chapter 594. Everyone present had seen Tantai Lingzi's dazzling results. However, no one knew that Tantai Lingzi had exchanged her virginity for those things. The ancient boat king had become the guy who had taken her virginity. Tantai Lingzi originally had a long-term plan. These things were given to her by the ancient boat king to strengthen her position in the Yuehua school. This way, it would be easier to complete the Black Spirit's plan in the future. It was a pity that the ancient boat king was short-lived and died in the hands of Ling Xiao. As a result, the plan was forcibly interrupted. These things could only be used to save her life. Tantai, your performance is really amazing. Even in the last 100,000 years, your results are definitely the best. You should be proud of it. Chang Yueying was grinning from ear to ear. Although no one had ever entered the 4th level in 100,000 years, due to various factors, some early warriors could obtain very generous rewards when they entered the 3rd level or even the 2nd level. However, as time passed, these rewards became less and less valuable. After all, no matter how powerful the Moonlight Fairy was, it was impossible for her to create treasures out of thin air. Those things were collected by her and belonged to non-renewable resources. Therefore, they became fewer and fewer in the future. Even so, Tantai Lingzi's results this time were too outstanding. Especially the items she obtained, they were definitely the best in the last 100,000 years. Hearing Chang Yueying's words, everyone in the Yuehua school was a little excited. After all, the better the disciple's performance, the stronger the Yuehua school would be in the future. With a disciple like Tantai Lingzi, why would they worry about the revival of the Yuehua school? However, the surrounding people were unusually excited and shocked. Unfortunately, Tantai Lingzi, who was praised by everyone, had a huge worry in her heart. Ling Xiao had almost become a demon in her heart. Tantai, from now on, you are the most outstanding disciple in the Yuehua school. Whatever you need, the sect will fully assist you. This is also what you deserve after obtaining 1st place in the Pagoda Ascension ceremony and breaking the record. No one dared to object to Chang Yueying's announcement. Even if they objected, there was no reason to do so because no one had a better result than Tantai Lingzi. Although Tantai Lingzi had only just taken Tantai Lingzi in as her disciple, she felt that Tantai Lingzi's achievements were merely flattering. Sect Master, it's a little too early to say that. Suddenly, a discordant voice sounded. The one who spoke was Yang Danlin. As soon as he left the province, he immediately attracted everyone's attention. Although many people respected him, they still felt that it was inappropriate for him to say this when everyone was happy. Therefore, some people were confused. Some people were a little dissatisfied. You don't have to look at me. Don't forget that there are still 2 people in the Moonlight Pagoda. You said that Tantai Lingzi broke the record that only appeared once in 100,000 years. I admit that, but you said that she was the first in the pagoda ascension ceremony. That's too arbitrary. Although Yang Danlin's cultivation was not good, she still wanted to fight for Ling Xiao. Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but come to a sudden realization. Because they were too happy and concerned about Tantai Lingzi, they actually forgot that there were 2 other people in the pagoda. Although these 2 people were really insignificant in the Yuehua school, they were still disciples of the Yuehua school for the time being. Haha, old Hall Master Yang. Although the length of time will affect the final result, it is not decisive. With Ling Xiao and Dai Yuling's aptitude and strength, it's impossible for them to surpass Tantai Lingzi's result. The flame deity waved her hand and said, That's right. This old woman thinks so too. The sect master Chang Yueli also nodded. That's right. Didn't Leng Hao also enter the 4th stage? But the things he obtained were far less than Tantai Lingzi's. Elder Jean chimed in. Most of the others had the same thought. Whether Ling Xiao and Dai Yuling were still alive was still a question. How could they surpass Tantai Lingzi? How could that be possible? When Tantai Lingzi entered the Moonlight Treasure Pagoda, she was already a peak, transcendent realm 8th level cultivator. When Ling Xiao entered, he was only an early transcendent realm 6th level cultivator. Dai Yuling was even worse, only at the transcendent realm 3rd level. How could they obtain more points than Tantai Lingzi? All right, stop arguing. We'll know the specific situation when they come out. Chang Yueying's expression wasn't very good. She had almost ignored the 2 people just now, but after being reminded by Yang Danlin, she had a bad feeling in her heart. Let's not talk about Dai Yuling first. However, this Ling Xiao was always able to do unexpected things. When he dealt with the Plague Demon King, who would have thought that he would be the one who obtained the most points? Thinking of this, she looked at Tantai Lingzi and asked, Tantai, did you see Ling Xiao and Dai Yuling inside? Are they still alive? When she asked this question, many people became nervous. Elder Jean, Sect Master Chang Yueli, the Flame Deity, and the others all had gloomy expressions. They had always thought that if it weren't for Ling Xiao, their people and disciples would have obtained better results. Thinking of the strange things that happened in the Moonlight Treasure Pagoda before, they also felt that things might not be so simple. In this pagoda ascension ceremony, although the disciples were eliminated very quickly at the beginning, there were actually so many people who entered the 3rd stage. This had never happened before. What surprised them even more was that there were actually 5 people who had entered the 4th stage. One had to know that for 100,000 years, the 4th stage had always been closed off, and no one had even found the entrance to the 4th stage. These things were too strange. They didn't expect Tantai Lingzi to know much, but if she could tell them a little, it would make them a little clearer in their hearts. Reporting to honored master and elders, the reason this disciple was eliminated was actually because of Ling Xiao and Dai Yuling. When Tantai Lingzi thought of this matter, she felt depressed. She originally intended to borrow the power of the Black Spirit organization to kill Ling Xiao and Dai Yuling. It was a real kill. However, she didn't expect that Ling Xiao actually obtained some treasure and became so powerful that the dignified ancient boat king was actually killed in one move. She had no choice but to commit suicide to escape. When everyone heard Tantai Lingzi's words, they all looked at each other in shock. It was actually Ling Xiao again. This time Dai Yuling was involved. Could it be that Bai Feifei and the others were all right? This Ling Xiao colluded with Dai Yuling, Leng Hao, and Shangguan Lei, and then slaughtered the rest of the disciples, causing them to be eliminated. Oh, this is very surprising. It's actually that unremarkable outer sect disciple. In the crowd, the head of the core disciples, Ren Xingtian, sneered. This result was truly out of his expectations. The inner sect disciples that he thought most highly of and the ones who could compete with him were actually Mingtian and Tantai Lingzi. Chapter 595. Humph. Yu Rin, who was ranked third among the core disciples, also snorted coldly. He could not accept this result. He could accept it if it was Mingtian, Leng Hao, Tantai Lingzi, or even by Fei Fei who took the first place. After all, Mingtian and Leng Hao were peerless geniuses. Tantai Lingzi and Bai Fei Fei were both powerful. But who did this Ling Xiao think he was? How could he have such a good opportunity? Yuren always looked amiable, but he was extremely narrow-minded and arrogant. He bullied the weak and feared the strong. If Ling Xiao took the first place, it would be equivalent to a beggar becoming the top scholar. How could he accept that? What happened? Tell me in detail. Chen Jiwang's expression was somewhat cold. Obviously, she was most afraid of being slapped in the face by Ling Xiao after accepting Tantai Lingzi as her disciple. She did not accept Ling Xiao because Ling Xiao's aptitude was not good. If Ling Xiao crushed the rest and took the first place in the pagoda ascension ceremony, how could she accept it? Tantai Lingzi nodded and began to fabricate a story that she thought was flawless. In the story, the person who colluded with the Black Spirit organization was no longer her, but Ling Xiao. What? Ling Xiao colluded with the Black Spirit organization? No wonder he could achieve such good results. It turns out that this kid is so rebellious. In the sect, only the supreme sect leader, the current sect leader, and the head of the law enforcement hall knew a little about the Black Spirit organization. The three of them flew into a rage when they heard this. Go on, Chen Jiwang said with a gloomy face. Not only that, Ling Xiao colluded with the Black Spirit organization and said that he could really kill me in the Moonlight Pagoda instead of eliminating me. Tantai Lingzi continued. They seem to have used some kind of secret technique scroll. When I saw that the situation was not good, I could only kill myself and be eliminated. If it weren't for them, I would have had a bigger harvest. This woman was completely making a fool out of herself. She had grafted her evil deeds onto Ling Xiao. She was simply shameless. However, her acting skills were really good. She cried as she spoke, which won the sympathy of most of the people in the sect. Even Heavenly Master Golden Light and Wang Han Tianzuan were silent. They also felt that if Ling Xiao really did such a thing, then even they would not protect Ling Xiao. Bastard! Yang Danlin, this is the disciple you've raised. Not only did you harm your fellow disciples, you even colluded with He Ling, who almost destroyed the entire profound world. This is a heinous crime. Elder Jean roared at Yang Danlin, unable to restrain his anger. Expelled from the sect. The flame deity also said coldly, I implore the sect leader to give the order right now to expel Ling Xiao from the sect. Expelled from the sect. Expelled from the sect. Most of the disciples in the crowd followed suit and shouted. It was as if Ling Xiao really did those heinous things and did not even want to give Ling Xiao a chance to explain. The flame deity had thought it through. If Ling Xiao was expelled from the sect, then he would no longer be a disciple of the Yuehua school. In this way, he could deal with Ling Xiao in any way he wanted to deal with Ling Xiao. The reason why this child was able to grow until now was because he had underestimated this guy too much. This time, he would definitely not let him go. Silence. Chan Yueying was also calculating in her heart that the disciple she accepted must be the most outstanding. However, if Ling Xiao and Dai Yuling were still alive, it would definitely not be possible. Then, it was not impossible to expel Ling Xiao from the sect now. What's more, thinking about it carefully, Ling Xiao was simply evil. In the first round, many people were eliminated by him. After that, he even harmed Ming Tian by Fei Fei, Wu Yang, Qin Wu, Tantai Lingzi, and a large number of others. If it was not for Ling Xiao, These people's results might have been even better. How could they be eliminated so easily? This child had committed such a grave mistake. Even if she expelled him from the sect, it would definitely be reasonable. Even the Moon Maiden would not be able to stop her. Thinking of this, Chang Yue-ing slowly said, "My Yuehua school is one of the 12 sects of the human race's sacred dynasty. Although we have never claimed to be a righteous sect, we have always done things in an open and honorable manner. I never expected that such a heinous traitor would appear today." "Hee, sect master, you're right. Ling Xiao must have been sent by the other sects to infiltrate the Yuehua school and deliberately cause trouble. Leaving him alive will only make the Yuehua school's reputation worse." Sect Master Chang Yue nodded with a smile. "And that Dai Yuling and Shang Guanlei, they actually colluded with Ling Xiao. Their crimes are heinous. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. These people must all be expelled from the sect. Of course, before that, their cultivation must be crippled to prevent them from harming the world after they leave." The flame deity snorted coldly. "Sect master, just give the order. Even Yang Danlin has nothing to say today. This child colluded with the Black Spirit organization. Just this alone is a capital offense." Elder Jean also said loudly, "That's right, a capital offense. A capital offense." That was why it was said that a person who was not envied was mediocre. Ling Xiao's performance was too eye-catching and dazzling. As an outer sect disciple, his performance was actually better than all the inner sect disciples. What would the inner sect disciples think? At this time, most of them would naturally want to add insult to injury. "Ha ha ha ha. After so many years, I never thought that the higher-ups of the Yuehua school would still be so shameless." Suddenly, a loud laugh came from afar. Then, a black shadow descended from the sky. This person was dressed in black, and his cultivation was extremely terrifying. A Grotto Heaven state powerhouse. Sect Master Chang Yue stood up abruptly and looked extremely nervous. "Who are you? Why have you come to the Yuehua school?" Sect Master Chang Li's memory is not very good. "You and I are old acquaintances. Why can't you recognize me now?" The man in black sneered. "Wu Xiang. Oh my God, isn't this guy Wu Xiang an outer sect disciple? He used to be the weakest outer sect disciple. I think he used to live in the same place as Ling Xiao. How did he become so powerful?" Finally, someone in the outer sect recognized the person who had come. That's right, this was Wu Xiang who had faked his death. Now that his cultivation had fully recovered, he had finally returned. "It's you." Sect Master Chang Li's face darkened when she heard the name Wu Xiang. She thought of something in the past. Many years ago, there was an extremely outstanding young genius in the Yuehua school. His name was Wu Xiang. In just 2 years, he had cultivated from the transcendent state to the Grotto Heaven state. He was regarded as the Yuehua school's greatest hope. At that time, Chang Yue, who was the sect master, also had a male disciple who was about the same age as Wu Xiang. This male disciple used to be much more powerful than Wu Xiang and was regarded as the Yuehua school's hope. However, because Wu Xiang surpassed him, he fell from grace and even caused trouble for Wu Xiang many times. Finally, because of this person's disturbance, Wu Xiang's cultivation went berserk and he killed this person in a fit of rage. In the end, the higher-ups of the Yuehua school crippled Wu Xiang's cultivation and threw him into the outer sect. Chapter 596. The higher-ups of Yuehua school thought that they had crippled Wu Xiang's cultivation. Novel, but they didn't know that Wu Xiang had cut off his demon heart. The cultivation they crippled was only a small part of Wu Xiang's strength. It seems that the Grand Master has recognized me. Wu Xiang sneered. In the past, your disciple targeted me everywhere. He even attacked me when I was at a critical moment in my cultivation, causing me to go berserk. I killed him in a fit of anger, but you didn't do any investigation or trial. You just crippled my cultivation and threw me into the outer sect. If it weren't for Junior Brother Ling, I'm afraid my corpse would have been exposed in the wilderness. What do you want to do today? Chang Yueli asked coldly. Don't worry, I'm not here to cause trouble, Sect Master. He then looked at Chang Yueying and said, Before the matter is investigated clearly, it's not good to jump to conclusions. It's better to wait for those two people to come out before making a decision. What right do you have? Before Elder Jean could finish his words, someone suddenly grabbed him by the neck. Wu Xiang was too terrifying. A Grotto Heaven realm martial artist was too powerful. Just based on this, what about it? Wu Xiang said coldly, Senior Brother Wu, let Elder Jean go. I'll listen to you and wait for Ling Xiao and Dai Yuling to come out before making a decision. But if they really do such a thing, even if Senior Brother Wu stops us, we won't be merciful. Chang Yueying didn't want to fight with Wu Xiang now, not to mention a Grotto Heaven realm martial artist. At this time, even if he only fought with a Celestial realm martial artist, the Yuehua school would definitely suffer great loss. What's more, Wu Xiang was right. It was obviously against the rules to jump to conclusions before everything was clear. Whoosh! At this moment, the Moonlight Pagoda flashed again and threw out a figure. Catch her! The flame deity shouted because he saw clearly that it was Dai Yuling who came out. Dai Yuling's injuries were too serious. She definitely couldn't recover in the Moonlight Pagoda, so Ling Xiao could only help her remove the effect of the secret technique scroll and then watch her be eliminated. But it didn't matter. Dai Yuling's opportunity this time was already top-notch. It definitely wouldn't be less than Tantai Lingzi. Even if she was eliminated, it was enough to be proud. Let's see who dares. Wu Xiang's figure flashed and appeared beside Dai Yuling. Junior sister, do you recognize me? Senior Brother Wu. Hee, it's good, that's good. Wu Xiang asked. Yuling. Dai Yuling said with a smile, I was plotted against by Tantai Lingzi. I can't survive in there. I can only be eliminated. How dare you slander the disciple of the sect master like this? Who taught you to say that? Is it Ling Xiao? The sect master said angrily. Sect master, I'm just telling the truth. Can't I tell the truth in Yuehua school? Dai Yuling said in a neither servile nor overbearing tone. Bastard, I heard from Tantai that the ancient boat king is a celestial realm expert. How can Ling Xiao kill him? If you're not lying, then what are you? Elder Jean also said immediately. Elder Jean probably doesn't know that there are many treasures in the 4th level. One of them is called the Pendant of Justice. Unfortunately, it's a high-quality imitation and can only be used for 2 hours. However, it's enough for Ling Xiao to deal with the ancient boat king. Dai Yuling said with a smile. You mean the imitation of the Pendant of Justice used by law enforcement Celestial Venerable, one of the 12 human immortals? Chen Jiwang asked. That's right. You probably don't know how big the opportunity is in the 4th level. Ling Xiao will definitely surprise all of you when he comes out this time. Dai Yuling replied with a smile. What about you? How are your results? As soon as Chen Jiwang asked this question, a golden light shot out from the Moonlight Pagoda and landed in her hand. You've completed the 4th level's great opportunity. You've obtained 3,000 Moonlight points. 3,000 points. That's too much. It's 1,000 points more than Tantai Lingzi. Tantai Lingzi's results were already shocking enough. They didn't expect Dai Yuling's results to be better than hers. Chen Jiwang continued to look and her expression changed drastically. You've actually obtained so many benefits. 10 immortal grade artifacts, 8 sets of gold grade martial arts, 50 precious grade artifacts, 100 sets of gold grade superior grade martial arts. In addition, there are 2 divine grade artifacts and a set of jade grade entry level martial arts. Heavens, I've actually obtained a jade grade martial arts. Even if it's just an entry-level jade grade martial arts, it's still too shocking. One must know that there are only 3 sets of jade grade martial arts in the entire Yuehua school. Only the head teacher and the head teacher of the law enforcement hall are qualified to cultivate them. The rest are not qualified, unless they have the head teacher's permission. Now, Dai Yuling actually brought back a martial arts of this level. This is too heaven-defying. The record that Tantai Lingzi had just set was broken by Dai Yuling so easily. Colluding with the Black Spirit organization to obtain such a result is disgraceful. Elder Jean snorted coldly. Elder Jean, as the head teacher of the law enforcement hall, aren't you being too biased towards Tantai Lingzi? She's the one who accused us first. It's obvious that she colluded with the Black Spirit organization to kill us. Now she's framing me and Ling Xiao. Dai Yuling said coldly, once the truth is out, I'm afraid you won't be able to show your face anymore. Ha 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 ha. Junior sister Yuling, you're wrong. That old thing has no face at all. He's not afraid of losing face. Wu Xiang laughed loudly. You. Elder Jean was fuming with anger. But he couldn't do anything to Wu Xiang. Wu Xiang was stronger than him. In the entire Yuehua school, only the highest headmaster was a Grotto Heaven realm powerhouse. Even the current headmaster was only a half-step world king. There was still a considerable distance between him and the Grotto Heaven realm. Thus, provoking Wu Xiang could lead to the destruction of the entire Yuehua school. Elder Jin's cultivation was inferior to Chang Yueying's. He naturally didn't dare to act recklessly. Otherwise, Wu Xiang could crush him with a single finger. Enough, there's no need to argue. Once Ling Xiao comes out, everything will be clear. Chang Yueying coldly glanced at Wu Xiang. Although her cultivation was inferior to Wu Xiang's, she was the Yuehua school's headmaster. She had the qualifications to use the sect's treasure. Combined with that treasure, she was confident that she could kill Wu Xiang. Within the mountain river world, everything was a vast expanse of whiteness. The sky was silvery white. Looking up, it was as if one was in a desolate, starry sky. The only thing one could see was a snow-white palace. That whiteness seemed to be draped in a layer of pure white gauze. It also seemed to be covered in moonlight, giving off an extremely mysterious feeling. What is this place? Why am I here? Ling Xiao was completely stunned. Chapter 597. Facing an unfamiliar place, Ling Xiao fell into a state of sluggishness. He remembered that after killing the ancient ship king and eliminating all the dark spirits, he helped Dai Yuling remove the soul-binding effect of the secret scroll. Then, before he could react, a white light shrouded him, and he appeared here. He thought he was eliminated, but it was clear that this was not the outside of the Moonlight Pagoda, but a brand new place. At the same time, he heard a cold voice in his ear. There's only one person left. Senior Sister Yuling was still eliminated. Ling Xiao shook his head and stopped thinking about these things. He began to pay attention to the White Palace because it was the only place that was special in the entire barren starry sky. Suddenly, a voice sounded in his mind, and the voice asked him to go over. Ling Xiao hesitated for a moment and walked over. Since he was already here, what was there to be afraid of? No matter how difficult it was, he could survive. At worst, he would just be eliminated. The palace was beautiful. The furnishings in the palace were even more beautiful. In the tall palace, there was a fresh and refined woman and a snow-white rabbit. The woman was lying on the ground barefoot, feeding the rabbit. When she saw Ling Xiao coming in, she smiled and waved at him. Come here, don't be afraid. May I ask who this senior is? Although Ling Xiao could not feel any malice from this woman, he was still very careful. Moonlight, heavenly maiden. Well, that's what others call me. Of course, I also have my own name, Chang'e. Thump. Ling Zhao's heart beat violently. He really did not expect that he would be lucky enough to meet the founder of the Yuehua school. This made him excited and a little scared. Greetings, ancestral grandmother. Ling Xiao bowed. That's too unpleasant. You should be like others and call me your highness, heavenly maiden. Chang'e waved her hand. Your highness, heavenly maiden. Did you summon me here just now? Where is this place? Ling Xiao asked. First, you obtain the dragon's soul inheritance of the ancient Hell Dragon. Secondly, he killed the ancient Ship King and Black Spirit from the Black Spirit organization. The third person would be the one who persisted until the end. Fourth, the matter of the land of dragons was resolved. It's been about 100,000 years. You're the only one who's managed to do all four of these things. That's why you're qualified to enter the hidden trial grounds. It can also be called the fifth stage. Chang'e replied with a smile. Her Highness shouldn't be a real person, right? Ling Xiao asked. Haha, your eyesight is really not bad. That's right, the one left in the Moonlight Pagoda is only a clone of mine. My original body is fighting alongside the human king. As for where exactly it is, even this clone of mine does not know. Chang'e sighed and said, Alas, it's been too long. It's been too long since someone came to accompany me. Hearing up to here, Ling Xiao could not help but shudder. Sister, you're indeed very beautiful, but I still have a lot of things to do. I can't stay here and accompany you all the time. Chang'e seemed to have seen through Ling Xiao's thoughts. She smiled and said, You don't have to worry. After opening the fifth stage, my clone's mission can be considered completed. It's time to look for my original body. But before that, I'll give you the reward first. Reward? Ling Xiao liked to hear this the most. Now, you've obtained a total of more than 10,000 moonlight points. This number is more than all the previous disciples. Chang'e said with a smile. In addition, you've entered the fifth stage, which itself has set a new record. So, you can obtain 5 rewards. Listen carefully. Yes, 5 rewards. Ling Xiao was secretly delighted, but his face was still very respectful as he listened carefully to Chang'e's words. Firstly, you can use your moonlight points to exchange for martial arts below Jade grade and magic treasures below Divine grade. There is no limit to the number of items you can exchange until you run out of points. By the way, other people don't have this qualification. Their moonlight points can only be used to exchange for gold, grade martial arts, and immortal grade treasures at most. Second, you can choose one of the martial arts to evolve. Of course, I can tell you the evolution method. You can use your moonlight points to buy the materials needed, or you can find them yourself. Third, you can have a moonlight token. With this token, it's like the Moonlight Fairy is here in person. Even the sect master of Yuehua school has to listen to you. Fourth, you can ask me for 3 wishes. As long as it's within my ability, I'll help you fulfill them. The first wish is free, and the other 2 require moonlight points. Fifth, you can ask me for 3 questions. This is free, so don't worry. This is too rich. Ling Xiao couldn't help but exclaim in his heart. Originally, the disciples who participated in the Pagoda Ascension ceremony, regardless of their results, would only be able to obtain the first reward, which was to exchange for martial arts and magic treasures. Moreover, it was only limited to gold grade martial arts and treasures below celestial grade. But Ling Xiao was different. He actually received 5 rewards, and he could exchange for jade, grade martial arts, and magic treasures. The other 4 rewards all made his eyelids twitch, especially the third reward, which was actually a moonlight token. Didn't that mean that he who entered the 5th stage was the one who the Moonlight Fairy thought was most suitable to inherit the Yuehua school? Forget it. I don't want to think so much. With such a good opportunity, I'd better get the 5 rewards first. For the first reward, he had to understand the relationship between moonlight points and the rewards. Gold grade martial arts, 400 moonlight points per set. Celestial grade treasures, 500 moonlight points per set. You can choose freely. Jade grade entry-level martial arts, 2,000 moonlight points per set. Divine grade treasures, 2,500 moonlight points per set. Ling Xiao wasn't interested in martial arts below the gold level. Therefore, he was only interested in those that were above the gold level and those that he could exchange for. The precious jade grade martial art required 10,000 moonlight points. In other words, Ling Xiao couldn't do anything else after exchanging for a martial art of this level, so he wouldn't choose it. Moreover, there was no need for jade grade martial arts at all. Even if he got it, he probably wouldn't be able to cultivate it. If he exchanged for it, it would only be a moon in the mirror. It would be meaningless if he couldn't touch it. His goal was jade grade entry-level martial arts. He would put this exchange aside first. He had to choose carefully later. He looked at Chang'e and said, "If I want to evolve, how many moonlight points do I need?" His Hellfire quintessential essence was of a different grade from the Hellfire quintessential essence in his body, so he couldn't cultivate it. This was a big problem that had to be solved immediately. And let me see. Chang'e closed her eyes. An ray of light shot into Ling Xiao's body from her glabella. She was indeed an expert. Just a ray of quintessential essence could condense into real moonlight, and this moonlight seemed to be able to detect Ling Xiao's body condition. The secret of the mountain river martial soul probably couldn't be hidden from this woman, but it didn't seem like there was a need to hide it. As a martial artist from 100,000 years ago, the Moonlight Fairy probably only had respect for the mountain river martial soul, not greed at all. Chapter 598. You don't need moonlight points. You've obtained the ancient hell dragon's dragon soul and transformed it into your own martial soul, but you haven't really used it. I can tell you the method and you can evolve it yourself. You'll have to suffer a little, but the success rate is still very high. Novel, La Chang'e replied. Thank you. Ling Xiao was pleasantly surprised. He didn't expect that the problem he had been struggling with would be solved so easily. It seemed that this was the so-called, after suffering, the good times come. From the 1st to the 4th level, he had experienced a lot of danger and pain. Finally, he had reached this step. It was time to steadily harvest the fruits of victory. You're welcome. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll evolve this martial art for you for free. Anyway, you have the materials. Chang'e smiled. Thank you very much, Your Highness. After speaking, Ling Xiao felt a ray of moonlight enveloping him. Then the 4-petal golden lotus, formed by the 12 golden lotus arts in his body, began to change slowly. Not only did it become much bigger, but it also became more dazzling. After a long time, Ling Xiao felt that he had a close connection with the mountain river martial soul. The golden lotus that was originally in the martial vein appeared in the mountain river world. The huge golden lotus had a diameter of 4 to 5 meters. Not only that, there were 9 strange pools near the golden lotus. 8 of the pools were frozen, and there was no movement. One of the pools had opened, and Ling Xiao's ancient hell dragon martial soul was inside. He looked at Chang'e in surprise, not understanding what this meant. In the Great Desolation era, there were 9 ancient hell dragon souls. Actually, every one of them could evolve a martial art. I've now sealed the evolution method in your mountain river martial soul. When you find the other dragon souls, you can open it and evolve it on your own. Chang'e explained with a smile. Each type of immemorial dragon soul can upgrade your martial arts by 1 grade, reaching the level that suits you best. Your martial arts were originally gold grade martial arts, but after evolving, it's now jade grade entry level martial arts. Originally, it could still continue to grow, but with your current cultivation, you won't be able to cultivate it anymore. Therefore, after your cultivation increases, it will continue to grow until it reaches the peak of the jade grade. That's not right. Aren't martial arts only divided into gold grade, jade grade, immortal grade, and divine grade? But the 9 great dragon souls were able to raise my cultivation level by 9 grades. This is very strange. Ling Xiao asked in confusion. He, you will naturally know this question in the future. When you have the qualifications to cultivate a top jade grade martial art, you will realize that the world is very different from what you imagined. Changge deliberately kept him in suspense. Ling Xiao didn't ask further. Knowing the answer to this question didn't mean much to him. He was still far from reaching that level, so it was better for him to take his own steps first. Ordinary martial arts could actually evolve. This was something that Ling Xiao had never thought of before. But didn't he encounter it now? In the past, he had thought that only his and his could evolve, mainly because they were too mystical arts. But now, the impossible seemed possible. Perhaps this was the so-called opportunity. Ling Xiao liked it very much. If the level of this inner force cultivation method was too low, then he could only give up. But now he didn't have to give up at all. He just had to find other dragon souls to raise the level of this martial art. This task was very difficult, but it was also very exciting. After the second reward was completed, the third reward was relatively simple. It was a moonlight token. Ling Xiao originally thought that this moonlight token was just a simple token, but he realized that he had underestimated the Moonlight Maiden. There was actually a spiritual body of the Moonlight Maiden in the Moonlight token. When Ling Xiao punished the sex insiders, this spiritual body would appear. Of course, the spiritual body wouldn't help him unconditionally. The spiritual body also had its own judgment. If someone really violated the sex rules and tried to harm the Yuehua school, the spiritual body would do its best to help Ling Xiao. If Ling Xiao caused trouble for no reason, the spiritual body wouldn't help him. Of course, there was no way to deal with him. In addition, the spiritual body could only target the people in the Yuehua school. It wouldn't have any effect on people outside. This was also a rule. Once the rule was violated, the spiritual body might disappear. Therefore, there were actually 2 sides to this matter. Every place and every world followed a certain rule. Ling Xiao accepted the Moonlight token. After that, the 4th reward was 3 wishes. Ling Xiao didn't know what Changge could help him with, so the wishes he had made at the beginning had been rather crazy. For example, he could let his master, the Yuan Venerate, return to his original state. For example, he could raise his cultivation base to the same level as Changji's, or he could obtain the Moonlight Pagoda, and so on. In the end, Changge couldn't help him fulfill these ridiculous wishes. After many attempts, coupled with the analysis of his mountain river martial soul, Ling Xiao finally picked out 3 more practical wishes that could be fulfilled. The first wish was free, so it had to be the most practical one. After thinking about it, Ling Xiao finally chose to upgrade the grade. This was a martial technique belonging to the soul race and was classified as a top-notch gold-grade martial technique in the Yuehua school. Ling Xiao had thought that it was very brilliant before, but now he felt that it couldn't keep up with the development. Unexpectedly, Changge shook her head and said, "This is the strongest innate martial technique belonging to the soul race. Only the top geniuses of the soul race can master it. Generally speaking, once someone masters it, no one else can cultivate it." Innate martial techniques didn't have grades. Therefore, Ling Xiao's previous feeling about this martial technique hadn't been wrong. After all, the power of this martial technique hadn't been that of a top-notch gold-grade martial technique. In other words, this thing didn't need to be upgraded. It would become stronger along with the martialist soul, just like the dragon roar of the dragon race. All right then, modify it and upgrade its grade. Ling Xiao felt that he could handle it if it was a magic treasure. However, he liked martial techniques very much. If it was upgraded, it could be used for a long time. It has already evolved. It is now a jade entry-level martial technique. That's great. For the second wish, Ling Xiao chose to upgrade it. At present, he hadn't officially cultivated sword moves yet. He had only condensed 13 sword soul clones. Not only did they have powerful moves, but they could also help him cultivate using the sword soul clones, which was very important. For this wish, Ling Xiao directly spent 2,000 moonlight points, which was the same as exchanging for a jade entry-level martial technique. Chapter 599. For the third wish, Ling Xiao did not choose to continue evolving his martial arts. Instead, he chose to convert the evil Beast Demon King into a martial soul. Because the evil Beast Demon King's cultivation was too high, Ling Xiao had never been able to convert it himself. After all, this fellow had already recovered to the yin-yang realm. It was even more terrifying than the ancient hell dragon in the Moonlight Pagoda. After the evil Beast Demon King was converted into a martial soul, its power was integrated into the 9 demonic divine art. Ling Xiao could clearly feel his 9 demonic divine art leveling up. 9 demonic divine art, yin-yang demon king. Jade grade entry, level martial art. The pestilence demon king controlled deadly plague poison. Evil beast demon king controlled all kinds of beasts. Yin-yang demon king controlled yin spirits and evil creatures. He really did not know what other changes there would be in the future. Ling Xiao felt that his fighting style was really becoming more and more diverse. However, unless it was absolutely necessary, it was best not to use the 9 demonic divine art. This thing could easily arouse the disgust of some people with a strong sense of justice. It would be a little troublesome if he was listed as an evil person. This wish consumed 1,000 moonlight points. However, Ling Xiao felt that it was still worth it. Otherwise, with his level, if he wanted to convert the evil Beast Demon King's soul, he would have to wait for God knows how long. Moreover, he could clearly feel that his cultivation was about to forcefully break through. However, he was temporarily suppressing it. He was not in a hurry to break through. Usually, he would break through once, then consolidate his cultivation before breaking through again. After receiving the reward, it would not be too late to find a place to break through. The 5th reward was 3 questions. It was free. Ling Xiao wanted to ask a lot of questions. However, after some refinement, he chose 3 of the more important questions. Your Highness, I previously obtained a pill from the furnace. It evolved into a strange butterfly. I don't know what kind of creature it is. Please enlighten me. To be honest, I can't answer your question completely. The human king once fought for 10 days and 10 nights and obtained a larva outside the mystic world. He asked the divine Pale Immortal Venerable, one of the 12 human immortals, to help him refine it into a pill. Unexpectedly, a war broke out before he could do anything. Helpless, the furnace was temporarily placed inside the Moonlight Pagoda. Chang'e replied, so many years have passed. I really don't know what happened inside, and I can't tell you what the larva is. I still have to thank your Highness. You have already answered my question. In short, this thing is very powerful, right? Ling Xiao smiled. He was already very satisfied with this answer. Second question. Is there any other place in the 5th stage of the Moonlight Pagoda where I can obtain rewards other than here? Yes. 10 miles away from here is the place where the monsters are kept. But if you go there, you'll only die, so I don't recommend you go. Ling Xiao nodded. He definitely had to go. Since he had already reached the 5th level, it would be a waste if he didn't go. Even if he was eliminated because he went to that place, he would be satisfied. Third question. How can I obtain the Moonlight Pagoda? Chang'e was stunned for a moment when she heard this question, and then she smiled and said, The Moonlight Pagoda is my strongest magic treasure. If you want to obtain it, Then your cultivation has to be able to attain the level of my main body. After that, you can rely on the moonlight token to take it for yourself. Thank you. I've asked all 3 questions. Ling Xiao had coveted the Moonlight Pagoda for a long time. This thing was not as simple as a magic treasure. If he could get this thing to the Divine Sword Sect, it could also help the disciples of the Divine Sword Sect cultivate. Of course, if he controlled the Yuehua School, then he could merge the Yuehua School and the Divine Sword Sect. At that time, he would have to think about what it would be called. In short, the stronger the power behind him, the more beneficial it would be for his future development. This point should not be wrong. Next, Ling Xiao still had 7,000 moonlight points. He immediately exchanged for 2 divine-grade artifacts. Together with the 3 he had found in the 4th level, he now had 5 divine-grade artifacts. These 5 divine-grade artifacts were naturally used as backups to upgrade the quality of the 5 swords in his hand. Of course, magic treasures could only be upgraded one by one. Therefore, what he needed the most now was immortal artifacts. This was not a problem. In the 4th stage, he found as many as 12 immortal artifacts. Even if he used 5 of them, he still had 7 left. The 2 divine-grade artifacts required 5,000 moonlight points, and he used the remaining 2,000 points to exchange for a set of Jade-grade entry-level martial arts. What he wanted was the Dragon Emperor's protective art, but it did not seem to be in here. However, the Jade entry-level martial arts that he exchanged could still be used to exchange. In addition to the sect points he had left, he should be able to exchange for the Dragon Emperor's protective art. As for what he would hand over to the sect, he had already thought about it. In the 4th stage, he had collected 3 sets of Jade entry-level martial arts. In addition to the set that he exchanged for, he had 4 sets. This was a true priceless treasure. He believed that the sect people would open their eyes wide. Anyway, his Mountain River martial soul already had copies of these 4 sets of Jade entry-level martial arts. Even if he handed them over to the sect, he would not feel any heartache. Instead, he would receive a large number of sect points. It was definitely a good thing. He did not intend to hand over the divine artifacts. He did not even have enough for himself. However, he could consider the immortal artifacts. After all, the sect points could be exchanged for more useful and needed items. Your Highness, the matter here is done. I plan to go to the troll prison that you mentioned. Is that okay? Ling Xiao asked. Of course. If you are not afraid of death, you can go and take a look. Chang'e smiled and said, Oh, I almost forgot. After you die here, you will be directly teleported out. How convenient. All right, you can go. I should also leave this place. After saying that, Chang'e hugged the jade rabbit and turned into a white light and disappeared. Ling Xiao glanced at it and did not leave immediately. Instead, he sat cross-legged in the palace. When he transformed into the evil Beast Demon King, his cultivation was about to break through. Now was the best time to break through. At the same time, outside the Moonlight Pagoda, a white light shot into the sky. It attracted everyone's attention. Then, a real figure appeared in the white light. It was the Moonlight Goddess. She was holding a jade rabbit in her arms. She was majestic and beautiful. Most of the disciples of the Yuehua School had seen the portrait of the Moonlight Goddess. However, the portrait was not the same as the real person, so they were a little stunned for a moment. Sister! The Moonlight Goddess cried out in surprise. She flew up and went to the woman's side. It's you, Moonlight Goddess. How have you been these years? Chang'e was very happy to see the Moonlight Goddess. It's really lonely without you. The Moonlight Goddess acted like a spoiled little girl in front of Chang'e. Everyone below was shocked. The Moonlight Goddess's sister? Isn't that the Moonlight Goddess? No wonder she looks similar to the portrait. Greetings, Your Highness. Greetings, ancestral grandmother. For a moment, everyone knelt on the ground, trembling with fear. I'm just a clone of the Moonlight Goddess. Now that I have completed the mission, It's time to find the whereabouts of the Moonlight Goddess. Before I leave, I have a few words to say. Chang-gu smiled and said, "The trial disciples of this year's pagoda ascension ceremony are really outstanding. There is hope for the revival of the Yuehua school. You have done well. You need to work harder in the future. Then that's it. I'm going." After saying that, Chang-gu hugged the Moonlight Goddess reluctantly and then turned into a white light and disappeared. Chapter 600. Inside the Moonlight Treasure Pagoda, Ling Xiao slowly opened his eyes. Peak of the Transcendent Realm 8th layer. This was his current cultivation. After absorbing and transforming this energy, Yang Kai's cultivation had risen from the early Transcendent Realm 8th layer to the late Transcendent Realm. Before, this amount of energy was enough for him to directly break through from the Transcendent Realm 1st layer to the Transcendent Realm 6th layer. Sure enough, the further one progressed, the slower it became. Fortunately, no one else could hear his thoughts. Otherwise, they would have been angered to death. Yang Kai's cultivation speed was simply unmatched. Especially after entering the Transcendent Realm 7th layer, his cultivation speed was extremely slow. Yet he was still able to break through to the peak of the Transcendent Realm 8th layer in such a short time. This was really enviable. Standing up, Ling Xiao looked at the prison, shrouded in black fog in the distance. According to the Moonlight Fairy, this was the place where the ancient monsters were imprisoned. This was probably the most dangerous place in the Moonlight Treasure Pagoda. If he went there, he would definitely be eliminated. However, since he had already come this far, even if he was eliminated, it didn't seem to be a big deal. Considering all this, Ling Xiao leapt in that direction. He soon arrived at his destination. Rather than a prison, it was more like a huge basin. The basin was shrouded in black fog and was several thousand meters deep. Relying on the ability of his mountain and river martial spirit, Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with golden light, allowing him to see what was below the basin. It was a primitive jungle. There was a dragonfly that was 7 or 8 meters long. There was also a centipede that was more than a dozen meters long. As for the tall and mighty sky dragon species, they were all monsters with huge stature. These terrifying ancient monsters were fighting each other inside, almost turning this place into a purgatory. Ling Xiao couldn't help gulping. This was because he realized that any of the creatures here could easily take his life. The weakest among them was a half-step heavenly venerable with 90% of their strength. Oh, good stuff. There's actually such a big 5 spirit fruit. Ling Xiao was shocked to find that in this basin, there were 5 types of spirit fruits: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Moreover, this one was 100 times larger than the one he obtained in the second round. Thinking about it, the effect was definitely not bad. Although Ling Xiao was afraid of those monsters, since he had already come here, he naturally couldn't return empty-handed. He had to go down and take a look at the situation. Fortunately, those creatures weren't everywhere. There were still many places without monsters. As long as he could restrain his aura, it would not be impossible for him to collect more spirit fruits. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao no longer hesitated and jumped into the basin. In the blink of an eye, he landed on the ground. Under the cover of the huge weeds that were 4 or 5 meters high, Ling Xiao quickly collected several 5-element spiritual fruits, especially the wood spirit fruit, which was what he needed the most right now. Once all 5 types of spirit fruits were gathered, he would be able to condense the 5 spirit body. At that time, his elemental resistance would have a qualitative leap, which would also lay a good foundation for advancing to the celestial tier. The stronger one's body was, the higher one's elemental resistance would be, and the higher one's chances of forming the heavenly vein would be. Not long after, Ling Xiao had collected dozens of spirit fruits of various attributes. These things were enough for him to use for a while. Just as he was about to leave this place, a huge cold pond came into view. According to his experience, in this cold pond, there must be something good with such abundant energy. Why not check it out? How could one enter a treasure mountain empty-handed? Now that Ling Xiao was the only one left in the Moonlight Pagoda, he didn't have to worry about anyone disturbing him. He could be at ease and boldly search for treasures. What's more, the higher one's cultivation, the more resources one would need. Although he had obtained so many benefits this time, it was estimated that it wouldn't be long before he ran out of money again. The cultivation of a warrior not only relied on hard work and talent, but also a large number of resources to maintain. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao urged his soul power to enter the cold pond. This was the safest way, because he didn't know what kind of danger there would be in the cold pond. If he went down rashly, he might even lose his life in the end. Boom! What? My soul power was actually defeated. Ling Xiao couldn't help but be shocked. His soul power was very strong, not weaker than a celestial realm expert. But after diving less than 10 meters deep, it was defeated by an even stronger soul power. This was enough to show that the thing below was extremely powerful. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao took out the seal card and released the Transcendent Swordsman. This was a half-step heavenly venerable with 50% of his strength. If even this guy couldn't enter the depths of the cold pond, then there was no need for him to go down. The monsters released from the seal card were all connected to their master's mind and soul. Therefore, what the Transcendent Swordsman saw, Ling Xiao could also see clearly. Ka-ka! The cold pond was indeed very cold. As soon as the Transcendent Swordsman entered the water, he could feel the continuous cold air as if it was going to freeze him. Fortunately, this was a half-step heavenly venerable. With a shake of his true origin, the ice flowers condensed on the surface of his body quickly shattered. However, Ling Xiao didn't have the slightest intention of relaxing. He had just entered the water, and it was already like this. He didn't know what other terrifying things were below. When the Transcendent Swordsman dived to a depth of 300 to 400 meters, the terrifying pressure and cold air made Ling Xiao shiver involuntarily. It wasn't the pressure of the water, but seeping out from the bottom of the cold pond. If he guessed correctly, it should be a treasure. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so terrifying. Ling Xiao's eyes flickered with an intense black and gold light as he poured his soul power into the Transcendent Swordsman. This way, it could help the Transcendent Swordsman resist some of the pressure. Otherwise, the Transcendent Swordsman wouldn't be able to enter the water directly. 400 meters, 500 meters, 600 meters. When he reached a depth of 1,000 meters, the Transcendent Swordsman's movements had already become stiff. Ling Xiao couldn't help but frown. He poured his soul power into the Transcendent Swordsman and condensed a trace of black hellfire. When the black hellfire arrived, the Transcendent Swordsman's movements immediately became smooth again. If he wasn't worried that the black hellfire would directly destroy the Transcendent Swordsman, Ling Xiao would have poured more in. However, it should be enough for now. However, the cold pond still hadn't reached the bottom. Ling Xiao carefully controlled the Transcendent Swordsman to continue diving. He also used the mountain river to protect the Transcendent Swordsman. The strength of a half-step heavenly venerable was not weak. In addition, Ling Xiao's mountain river was no weaker than a heaven realm expert's. He finally dived to the deepest part. All right, we've reached the bottom. I want to see what exactly is at the bottom of the cold pond that can make the cold pond so terrifying. Using the Transcendent Swordsman's eyes, Ling Xiao discovered that the bottom of the cold pond was mostly soft sand. However, there was one place where there was actually a black stone. If it were someone else, they would probably directly ignore the stone. However, Ling Xiao couldn't help but exclaim, Chapter 601. It's a heaven vein divine stone, and it's so big. It was no wonder that Ling Xiao was surprised. This heaven vein divine stone was too precious. As the name suggested, the Heaven Vein Divine Stone was related to the Heaven Veins. Rumor had it that as long as one had a Heaven Vein Divine Stone, the success rate of condensing 9 martial veins into a heaven vein would increase by more than 50%. More importantly, the condensed veins of heaven would become incomparably strong. They would be more sturdy than martial artists of the same level, and their capacity would also be greater. No one knew how this stone was produced. However, the function of the Heaven Vein Divine Stone was recorded in ancient books. According to the Yuehua School's ancient books, the Heaven Vein Divine Stone was extremely rare and was said to have been completely used up tens of thousands of years ago. To be able to obtain a Heavenly Vein Divine Stone was simply a stroke of luck for Ling Xiao. It was no exaggeration to say that if someone were to sell the Heaven Vein Divine Stone now, a palm-sized Heaven Vein Divine Stone could be sold for 100,000 high-grade spirit stones. That was a high-grade spirit stone. One had to know that most of the sect disciples were still using low-grade spirit stones. Even middle-grade spirit stones were hard to come by. The Heaven Vein Divine Stone Ling Xiao found was 100 times the size of an adult's palm. How many high-grade spirit stones was it worth? He only needed 1% of it for his own use. The rest could be sold in exchange for a large number of high-grade spirit stones. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao no longer hesitated and hurriedly ordered the Transcendent Swordsman to fish up the Heaven Vein Divine Stone from the depths of the cold pond. However, Ling Xiao was too focused on the cold pond and did not notice that a pair of huge dark green eyes were staring at him from the nearby grass. The two of them were about 500 to 600 meters apart. This distance might be very far for an ordinary person, but for a Transcendent Realm cultivator, it was just a short distance away. The huge, dark green eyes were slowly approaching Ling Xiao, as if it did not want to disturb its prey. Ling Xiao's true origin sphere could now extend to a maximum of 100 meters. If it was too far away, he would not be able to detect it, unless it was deliberately searching for it. However, all of his attention was focused on the cold pond, and he was not aware of the threat behind him. Boom! Suddenly, a huge black shadow attacked Ling Xiao from behind. Its speed was so fast that it was unbelievable. It was as if it had arrived near Ling Xiao in an instant. Extraordinary swordsman. At the critical moment, it was his rich combat experience that saved Ling Xiao's life. The moment he sensed the threat, the Transcendent Swordsman also happened to jump out of the cold pond. Ling Xiao instantly switched places with the Transcendent Swordsman. That huge black shadow crashed into the body of the Transcendent Swordsman. A dignified half-step Empyrean was actually killed in an instant. Ling Xiao didn't dare to stay any longer. After putting away the Heaven Vein Divine Stone, he extended his golden dragon wings and flew into the sky above the basin. He was already satisfied with obtaining the Heavenly Vein Divine Stone. The next step was to think of a way to get some benefits from other places and then slip away. The moment he escaped, Ling Xiao turned around to take a look. In a glimpse, Ling Xiao felt his scalp go numb. What he saw was a huge dark green centipede. Its body was 4 or 5 times thicker than the mouth of the well. Its body was about 20 meters long, and its whole body was covered with a dark green hard shell. It felt like that thing was much stronger than Ling Xiao's heavenly dragon scale armor. On both sides of the centipede's body, there were 2 rows of legs with many spikes on them. They were like sharp blades. How was this a centipede? It was the ancestor of all centipedes, and it was a little too big. Roar! The centipede's mouth actually let out a beast-like roar. Its true qi leaked out crazily, and the whole forest was raging because of it. Even the cold pond nearby couldn't withstand the pressure and began to churn, as if it would erupt at any time like a volcano. Ling Xiao's speed was very fast, especially after he used his golden dragon wings. His speed was even faster. Although the pendant of impartiality had lost its effectiveness after killing the ancient ship king and the people of the Black Spirit organization, he was now a peak Transcendent Realm 8th layer cultivator. Moreover, his true qi was extremely rich, and no one in the transcendent realm could match it. With his speed, no one in the transcendent realm could catch up to him. But now he was being chased closer and closer by the giant centipede. The centipede only raised its head slightly, and in an instant it was more than 10 meters away from Ling Xiao. It opened its bloody mouth and bit at Ling Xiao. Ice storm! Ling Xiao didn't even think about it. He summoned the ice dragon sword and stabbed it out. He used the strongest move of the Snow Lotus sword art. With the continuous improvement of his cultivation, the Snow Lotus sword art's level was obviously lower, but it was still the purest sword skill Ling Xiao could use at the moment. The blizzard howled as it rushed towards the giant centipede. The centipede opened its mouth and spat out a green whirlwind. Pung. The two forces collided, and the snowstorm was instantly disintegrated. Then, Ling Xiao felt a force hit him and sent him flying more than 10 meters away. Too terrifying. The power of this centipede's attack was insane. The snowstorm was nothing in front of its attack. Fortunately, Ling Xiao's defense was strong enough. Otherwise, this blow would have taken his life. Even so, he was still seriously injured. He took advantage of the impact to escape. Is this the horror of the giant monster that Chang'e mentioned? Sure enough, I was lucky to have the pendant of impartiality before, so I could kill the ancient ship king in one blow. Otherwise, I would have been dead. Ling Xiao was still a little scared. He threw a high-rank true elemental pill into his mouth and sped up. The giant, dark green centipede didn't stop at all. After the attack, it still chased after him. The distance between them was closed again in an instant. Gotcha! At the critical moment. Ling Xiao used the Cloud Dragon Divine Travel and dodged the giant centipede's attack. The centipede bit down on the cliff, and the huge cliff was easily bitten through like tofu. Then the surrounding boulders melted. Ling Xiao only took a short breath before the centipede's attack came again. Its huge tail curled up and then swung fiercely, wanting to slap Ling Xiao to death on the cliff. Thunder celestial phenomenon, snowstorm. This time, Ling Xiao was slightly more prepared than before, so he used the thunder celestial phenomenon. The same snowstorm, after mixing in the power of celestial phenomenon, increased its power by several times. With a rumbling sound, the snowstorm howled and pounced towards the giant centipede. Clang! The sword, which was like a thunderstorm, stabbed heavily into the giant centipede's tail. In that instant, there were actually huge sparks that splashed crazily in all directions. However, even so, Ling Xiao's sword still didn't break the giant centipede's defense. It didn't even leave a trace. It only slowed down the other party's attack, slightly. With this attack, Ling Xiao escaped at an even faster speed. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.